Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. Oh, great. I knew that was going to happen. I am your host, Roddykat, and you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
Hitting folks with the new, the sample. That's cute. Oh, you know what? That's what I should. Anyway, sorry. Looking at some behind the scenes stuff, and that sound effects that you heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one agent _ 70.
What's up, everybody?
You know, if there's one thing to be jealous of Brooklyn about is the number of shout outs that are in a good number of sounds.
Yes, they're liberally sprinkled amongst hip hop, right?
Yes, it is. One would say it is a staple of hip hop. But yes, folks, you can find this here program on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find this at your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. And folks, I'm sorry, I should not be looking at Twitter when that stupid versus is going on. Also, but
wait, who's competing tonight?
So what?
Who's competing tonight on Versus?
It's Jeezy versus Gucci Mane.
Who?
Exactly. Well, I mean, I know who both of them are, but it's.
I'm so sorry. The hip hop curmudgeon in me just came out and started swinging.
Yeah, it sounds.
I could not even say.
I understood that reference.
Couldn't even say it.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know I still had that background up. That's weird. But yeah, it looks to be a train wreck. But that's not why we're here tonight. We are here to talk comic books, folks. That is a whole nother podcast. If you want some rap stuff, maybe go check out the Eclectic Discussion podcast. They do stuff over there. Shout out to Eclectic and 12 Kyle.
There you go.
Well, you know, I'll fix that later. But anyway, we are going to start off with the comic books of the week. And we said we were going to start off with X of Swords, aka 10 of Swords, with X-Force number 14, which I'm just going to go ahead and say is a potential click of the week for this week.
Listen, it was good. It was good. This is, for those of you keeping score, 10 of Swords, chapter 17. So if you know, there's only, when I say only, I really mean this tongue-in-cheek, only 22 chapters in 10 of Swords. So we only have 5, well, this is, including this one, 5 more left.
Well, but after this week, we only got 3, but yeah, exactly. And yeah, because we were talking about it before the show. It was like, yeah, this thing has been cooking because of the fact that, and shout out to Tim, who also noted this in tweets earlier this week, that, you know, them shipping, you know, 3 books a week or whatever the case, or at a time rather, not necessarily a week, but on the weeks that it comes out, has been a good help in the last. And granted, it didn't start like that because we were getting like 2 books a week for a good minute up until the last couple of weeks. And as Agent 70 noted, it was because, you know, they took a week off, or none shipped in a week, and that might have helped things out.
Absolutely.
And I wonder, now I'm kind of wondering, since you did say that, I'm kind of wondering if that was on purpose.
It's hard to say. At the end of the day, I would note that obviously in the wake of the COVID-19 disruptions in publication and distribution, everything is still relatively fluid. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're and knock on wood, we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see what happens over the winter. So,
Right.
getting back to
But also as we've noted though that Ten of Swords hadn't necessarily been affected as much by, you know, the earlier COVID non-shipping of books, because it kind of started later anyway. It was pretty much started when I think it was supposed to.
what I would add though is they also have to fit in books that were supposed to come out,
Right.
you know, that were disrupted. So it may not have disrupted the start of the start of the event technically, but it definitely has affected the distribution and publication of it. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we're not privy to their original release schedule, even with solicitations. So it's hard to really pin that down. But as I said, getting back to X-Force number 14, it's written by Benjamin Percy and Jerry Duggan, with art by Joshua Cassara and colors by Guru EFX. I would note that this issue contains some of the sillier contests that eventually lead to Araco building a really big lead in points over Koa.
Some would say the greater contest.
I mean, if you're into things like this isn't even this is, you know, some of the contests were you know, this isn't Ninja Warrior stuff. This is more Double Dare. And
at this point, I'm kind of surprised they didn't go either one of those routes with everything they put into it. I'm like, they did pretty much everything but those.
Listen, they had a jigsaw puzzle contest, so and listen, it was hysterical. Definitely recommend reading this. I know that Roddykat is very keen on this issue, and I would note that this is a strong reminder that from Storm, that she is a formidable character without her powers. She's only temporarily deprived of them in this issue. That's a mild spoiler, but this is a history lesson for those readers that do not remember the original Mohawk Storm stories leading up to Fall of the Mutants.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Lest we forget, you know, Storm without her powers is still, as I just said, quite formidable. And that was as much as anything else that I saw in this one, because I wasn't really sure where they were going to go with that. And this could have gone told other way, but we also know they have plans for Storm, you know, in the coming year, or in the coming next year. So we knew, well, we don't know whether they were going to. They could have just as well done that either, also. But they're doing things with this. I know. Also, there was also one part. Speaking of that in Storm, because so there was also a runway walk
Right.
that had Storm and Wolverine looking. I've kind of felt bad for him, but that was one of the panels that, like, there was a few panels in this issue that I just had general chuckles about, like it's going to like full out laughter in a couple of cases, including the scene with Gorgon. Was it Gorgon Magic and I can't remember who else was it. Oh, it was Wolverine on that panel. You know the one I'm talking about if you remember it. But there was some just genuine laughs out of this one. But back to the catwalk thing, that's like, you know, that one kind of had me, was like, what, really? How did this happen? Without spoiling it.
One of them was like pushing the rock up the hill.
Yes. Not that one, but yeah, that was the one after that. But that one was pretty fun too, because you see that whole scene play out, and like I would love to see some of this kind of I don't know if I would see it in live action, but I would love to see it like animated, because some of the stuff was just like that would be a trip to just watch.
Yeah, it's pretty comical.
Yeah. That being said, though, so there was okay. So I know there was a I know, well, we definitely see this week, there are people losing body parts. And in one notable person in this one lost a body part. And this has always been a thing, or this has been a thing for quite a while that kind of is weird about this. So Logan loses a hand, almost, let's say Star Wars style. And of course, he's got his healing factor, which apparently must be back, considering, because he was also under the effects of whatever that stuff that Storm drunk during, was it Marauders?
Oh, it's actually, they actually mention it in one of the data pages under Blight's will.
Yes.
Wolverine got it out of his system pretty quickly.
Right, because of his healing factor, which was on the fritz when that happened, but he worked through it. So he lost a hand, but apparently he gained it back, by this time. And I'm sitting here like, well, so wait, he lost his hand, and knowing what we do about, and I probably shouldn't be thinking about this that much. One, he's got adamantium bones. So did the hand grow back with the adamantium, or did, is it just bone?
What issue did he lose his hand in?
I believe it was in Wolverine last week.
Last week?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to flip back to that.
Because he was in that three-way with Solemn and War.
I'm going to...
I think it was Wolverine. It was either Wolverine or whatever came before Wolverine, but I believe it was the Wolverine issue.
I'm flipping through it now just to see, because I don't recall that. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
I mean, we definitely saw a couple of characters lose their hands.
Right, War lost a hand. Matter of fact, both due to Solemn, and Wolverine did. And I'm trying to remember whether he had his claws out or not, because that's a whole nother situation that was kind of, it made me wonder. I was like, well, wait. Because again, when he retracts, we do know that part of his, well, I guess that goes back to his forearm, but that part was, is what it was. But it was like the whole losing the hand was like, what, did he lose his claw?
No losing hands.
Yeah,
Wolverine has his hands at the end of this issue. The character that loses his hand is the person that was supposed to fight Solemn, the flaming head guy. That's the character that loses.
No,
his
War.
hand.
Yeah, War. No, Wolverine also lost his hand.
No, he got chopped up, but definitely didn't lose anything. If you look at the last panel of the issue, he's got both hands. One of them holding the Muramasa blade.
Okay, well, maybe he got it back during the thing, but I figured. But okay, whatever. I'll look at it later. It's not. But it was.
I think you're just misremembering, because I think there's a couple. Like I said, there's a couple of characters that lose hands, but it's not Wolverine.
Be that as it may, that kind of made me wonder, because I know, because like I remember he got the blade in his shoulder and his neck or whatever, but I could have sworn he lost a hand. Regardless,
he actually cut his opponent's hand off, so I think that's what you're remembering. Pretty sure, because like I said, I'm looking at it right now.
Because I'm trying to figure. Well, because if that was the case, how did they lose a point? Because I remember
because he didn't die.
Well, no. But I know that. But I'm saying because Arakko got the point because
it was a fight to the death, and the point was to fight to die.
Well, it was a point to Solemn. What I'm saying is because Solemn was the one that was cutting off whoever's hand.
No, hold on. Now you're gonna make me go back and look.
Because I think even in like Cable's recap page, I believe it mentions, or either if it's not Cable's, it was either Cable's or it was whoever was reporting to Mojo first. But regardless, we keep on going.
Yeah, I'm like, seriously, you got to look at it.
No, like I said, I will, but I was like, no. But
it's time to pull it up on your handy dandy tablet and take a look at our comic.
Well, I don't have my tablet on right now, but I can pull it up in a minute.
I'm literally scrolling through.
But to keep on this on pushing, so we see Saturn also kind of make a move on another move on Captain Britain, or the former Captain Britain, Captain Avalon, Brian Braddock, you know, after he loses this race with Red Root of all people, that was also a kind of a funny scene because they were running through the Crooked Market, and you know, and in true tortoise in the hair style, you know, Brian got kind of cocky and I was like, hey, I'm ahead, you know, and then things started happening. And Red Root was like, yeah, like, I'm feeling the wind, even though she was being winded and all that. It was you have to read it. It was pretty funny in itself, but as they pan out from the shot, she was only like 5 steps away from him. So, which basically the whole thing, this whole issue was like, if you wasn't sure whether Saturnine or somebody, whoever was setting things up to go a certain way, this would be the issue that would pretty much confirm that.
I was about to say last week's issues confirmed it, which is
well, there's that too, but yeah.
I was saying last week that the writers behind the story were doing an excellent job of making me absolutely detest Saturnine because of how she was rigging a lot of the contests. So
right.
It's definitely something that they have sought to stress, and they definitely had a few scenes in the 3 books that came out this week, the 3 chapters of Ten of Swords that came out this week, which really cemented that as well. You know, right. We'll be discussing them shortly, but
matter of fact, we can go to the next one because I think X-Force is pretty much. Yeah.
I'm looking for Mojo Communication. What book that was in? Because I definitely recall seeing that.
Yeah.
Because it's in the Major Dome. It's communication between Major Domo, and as soon as I saw Major Domo, I didn't have to keep reading. I was like, oh, this is a Mojo thing.
Right. Right, and yeah, some of the stuff is blending together because, you know, reading all these issues, you know, in the order you're supposed to, then, you know, you kind of, there are things that tend to blow together, especially with those data pages and whatnot. So we will move on to Hellions number 6, which is the second of the 3 chapters for this week. And so this was kind of funny because I almost totally forgot about this whole thing. So this is basically taken up after, let's say, some time in a way, because the Hellions, thanks to Sinister, was sent, and with Sinister was sent on the mission like before the contest started in earnest, and kind of find out they just reached where they were intending to go through probably a little bit more machinations of for Sinister, because, you know, and some things happen to him along the way that we don't necessarily get privy to, or at least like not at the start, but we come to find out, you know, during the course of them going on, that you know, things hadn't been necessarily going well for them up to that point. And then getting to the other side, to Araco, didn't make things any better, because they meet up with some resistance, some perceived resistance, but we come to find out that Sinister, not surprisingly, has had other plans outside of the original one that he told the council going in, without giving that too much. But, you know, if you know anything about Sinister and what he normally gets up to, it's not that big of a surprise.
Yeah, I think, you know, he definitely had a purpose to everything that he did, including misguiding that particular mission purposefully to give him a chance to get his hands on some new mutant genome specimens from Morocco, and that is ultimately his goal. I would also note that Mojo data page and communication page between Major Domo and Mojo is from the X-Force issue. It's actually on the page after the race between Captain Avalon and the Root Lady, Red Root, gets hashed out.
Right.
So it's right there. So it was in the issue that we were just discussing. I completely thought it was in one of the later ones.
Yeah. See, so Roddykat didn't completely misremember stuff, but hey, you know.
Oh, you know, I was about to say, we could get into blind squirrels and all that. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, but Hellions, What's up? Something else I was gonna say about Hellions. Oh, yeah, that's right. Going off of what Agent 70 just said prior to that last statement about what Sinister's trying to get up to. I still feel like that, and I knew even get to that part where it he kind of showed his hand, or it comes out rather, the what he was trying to do. This has some implications on the stuff that we come to find out in Hoxpox about future dealings.
Right.
Like this clearly has some implications on that stuff.
Right, and also it also taps right into where they had taken the first several issues of Hellions,
Right.
which is all about Sinister's prior dealings with clones of mutant genomes. So
Right.
This is all relating into the internal story in Hellions, despite the major crossover with Ten of Swords.
Right.
So it is a clever way of them weaving the main story of Hellions into this crossover story and keeping the main focus of the book, which is this kind of ragtag team and Mr. Sinister's machinations,
Right.
Front and center in this Hellions title. This there's a swerve at the end, which
Big one.
saw coming, but even while I was reading it, I was just like, man, that's tough.
Right. So yeah, to go quickly on that one, without giving too much away, the mission don't go well. Well, let me phrase that. The mission doesn't go well for
It's original,
everybody, with the exception of Sinister.
Yeah.
To a point.
Its stated purpose to the council it was a complete and utter failure, but I'm fairly certain to Sinister it was a rousing success.
Right, and I guess and even the part that happens with him, you kind of saw that one coming, especially when before they left and he was talking to his other clones. So it was like, well, we knew something was going to happen there. But also, like I said, it doesn't go well. There are some losses. Some of them will not be missed. I don't know if they plan on bringing those folks back or not. But again, they will not be missed if they don't.
That's funny.
Because as we know, anyone who dies in Araco, they don't come back the same. Because of the resurrection protocols are messed up because of Otherworld, or not Araco, but in Otherworld. But regardless, they're not on Earth. The resurrection protocols cannot bring them back to their former self as themselves, as we have seen before going into this thing. So whether they come back as a different version of them, which is could be the case, or they don't come back at all, which is fine by me in a couple of those cases. And actually, realistically, in all of the cases from this week, but the most of them were coming from this book and Cable, and the one from Cable. But that's neither here nor there. So they won't be missed. But we do know that there are losses on the Krakoan side, and it wasn't anybody major.
Well, at least to this point. So.
Well, yeah, to this point, but we only got a couple of episodes left. If they lose anybody at this point major, that'll be something. That'd be kind of crazy.
I would note that they do have.
Well, let me phrase that. Because the one major loss would be Captain Britain, but we still don't know.
They have her crossed off in addition to Summoner.
Right.
When it comes to the champion, so that is telling as to their current state.
Right. And I have a theory about that part, but that was mentioned on Twitter. If you're following us on Twitter, you kind of may have seen that, may or may not have seen that. But I think I'm hoping I'm right, but I don't believe I am, because I feel like if that's something I could grant. I'm not saying that I'm not stupid or smart or anything, but I'm like, if that's something I could suss out, then there's probably suss out that easily, then that's there's something wrong in the writing, but not necessarily. So, I don't know.
Anyway, so we can wrap up our discussion on the 3 chapters of Ten of Swords out this week with Cable number 6, which is the 19th chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Swords. It's written by Jerry Duggan with art by Phil Noto. I think I neglected to mention that Hellions #6 was written by Zeb Wells with art by Carmen Carnero, and one of the new Stormbreakers at Marvel, and with colors by David Curiel. But getting back to Cable #6, I jokingly noted that this issue actually has what we expected at the outset of this crossover story. 19 chapters in. Well, we've seen a couple of kind of swordplay fights, like in chapter 17 in X-Force between Storm and Death.
Right.
So did see that. So, but this issue, more so than most of the previous chapters, or let's say these last several chapters, this week's issues really had what we expected when we first read the solicitations and the advertisements for this series, which was, a whole bunch of duels between people wielding swords. So we do get that in this issue. I would note that there is a concise list of the battles and a tally of points in this issue. So if you're looking to recap where we are and how we get to the point total where we find ourselves at the end of this issue, it is nice and handy. But we get a couple of decisive decisive victories in this issue. One of them is kind of surprising, but then there's also an interesting connection between young Cable, and it's interesting to see the relationship that is developed between young Cable, Jean Grey, and Cyclops.
Yeah.
They weren't kidding when they listed the Summers residents on the moon as having, all of the Summers clan basically up there. They really are treating these characters with much more of a familial tie.
Mm-hmm. It's good to see. It's definitely been good to see. Because the whole history there with them and that whole thing has been nothing but crazy at certain points of his X-Men history. But yeah, you actually kind of feel for the title character in this one because he took an L. But when he took it out, his first thought was of Scott, and and apparently you brings back to it. Also at that point, kind of brings back the point that, like early on in this event, like Jean and Scott had a plan going that we never really get privy to. But apparently we're going to see that play out in the next couple of issues because they were somewhere. I don't know if I assumed they were still on Krakoa in telepathic contact and not necessarily on the other side of the gate in Otherworld by their surroundings. But
exactly, communicating telepathically with them.
Right.
I would just note that Gorgon really does make an excellent showing for himself here. Oh
yeah, he pretty much evened it. He literally, he didn't leave it out. He actually put the because at this point before this, the Krakoans were majorly behind, thanks to whatever scoring system Saturnine put out, and as Agent 70 kind of said last week, points to Slytherin or Gryffindor or whoever. She was pretty much using that system.
Exactly. 5 points for a masterful game of chess.
Yeah, but Gorgon, to his credit, even things. Well, he pretty much evened things out because he actually got the Krakoans ahead, but then he ended up making things even out. And again, without spoiling that, that's the thing that happens in the course of this issue. So now, going into the last 3 chapters of the book, we pretty much have an even score of which I guess this is not a surprise that it was going to get here some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it kept going the way it was going, it was like, well, what's the point of this? Because even in a situation where it's like, well, 2 games out of 3, folks would have been settled up before all of that. But yeah, this whole thing kind of kept going, which is actually good reading. So I'm not complaining about that part. But now that Gorgon's evened it up, I guess this is going to send us into the last part of this event.
Mm-hmm. And it's
With some
interesting that,
curiosities.
as we were discussing earlier, next week is going to contain the finale.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 issues that come out next week will contain all 3 of the last chapters of Ten of Swords. So I'm actually looking forward to, and this is early warning for everyone, next week is Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So we will not be recording Thursday evening. It's more likely than not we'll be recording Friday evening.
Right. So there will be a show next week, just not on the normal day that we record.
If you're looking to catch us live, look for us on Friday. We'll make sure to tweet it out. And in terms of release of the audio podcast, it'll probably be around the same time over the weekend. So.
Likely, yeah.
But in any event, I'm definitely looking forward to getting my books next week. That's really what I was actually getting at.
Yeah, pretty much.
Get the finale to Ten of Swords next week. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. That's something to look forward to. I'm probably gonna try to get my books Wednesday before Thanksgiving, just so I can have them to read, during the holiday. So it'll be fun. I'll be happy to discuss how this ends. And I know there's going to be a couple of aftermath issues in the main X titles, I think.
At the very least, yeah, of course, something. Yeah, there's definitely going to be something. I was going to say that, and this is a weird thing to say, because if you've been paying attention to this program for any length of time, much less the last year or so, event fatigue has been a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, there's still some events like, okay, whatever. And even with an upcoming event, everything's going to be bum rushing its way into. And we'll probably be talking about that next week a little bit more, or at least in the next couple of weeks, regardless. But
they're definitely starting in the month of December for sure.
Yeah. Well, again, yeah, like I said, it's only a couple of weeks away. But this is a weird thing to say. I'm probably going to be sad to see this event go, weirdly enough.
It seemed to go by quicker than most because we were getting 3, like we said earlier.
And it's been good.
Chapter a week.
Right.
And I have to admit, just like any 22 issue story, there's always going to be a few bumps in the road, but it actually has been very much an intriguing story. I'm sure I missed things here and there. As Roddykat mentioned, a lot of these issues have those Hickman-esque data pages where there's lots of backstory filled in here, and I still regret not getting my hands on a copy of the handbook. I think Roddykat ended up getting a digital copy for us, but
yeah, it's back there somewhere. If you need it, I can get it to you. If you need it.
But as I mentioned, I have to take a closer look at that to see what I've missed. But all in all, this has been a very solid event, as kind of unorthodox as it's been. It's
True.
been on the unorthodox side.
But that's what I love about it, because like I said, and I've said this before, and I will say this again, like it pretty much harkens back to Contest of Champions, which, in a similar vein, is like, okay, you would think you have things fight, you do have folks fighting amongst themselves, and sometimes in unconventional ways. And like sometimes it's a straight up fight, sometimes it's like other things. This one kind of took that and just kind of took that and went with it. So, and it was a beautiful thing to kind of see, especially like I said in X-Force 14, going into, because again, like, it wasn't a hard reason to believe that, okay, well, the Gravity needs swords, so you think sword fight, but that doesn't necessarily mean that was, we come to find out quickly that doesn't, just because they're called the sword bearers and they have the sword, that they're going to be using for that, which ended up still happening, like we said earlier. But it just means that, hey, here you go, you're the chosen champions for this contest. So it's been a beautiful thing, and like I said, it's going to be weird seeing it go, but I am also glad that in that respect that it has been going as briefly as it has, and has been going as well as it has.
Definitely been going briskly.
Yeah.
It was daunting. It was definitely a daunting idea when they said exactly how many chapters are going to be
Right.
in this, in the crossover. It was a daunting number.
Right, because you think, 23 chapters, this thing's going to go for, like, this is probably going to last as long as Watchmen did, which nothing's ever going to do that.
Shots fired. Oh, no.
And that was only 12 issues.
We will forever be making jokes about Watchmen. Whatchamacallit?
Yeah, 12 issues took two. If you didn't know, folks, 12 issues of that Watchmen series Watchmen miniseries from from 2017 took 2 years to finally finish to wrap up.
It actually almost went to 2+, going into the third year, and I lost a bet on that by a week.
Yeah, that's right, because it did in like the week before Christmas or something like, or a week after Christmas or whatever the case would be, or no, the week of Christmas. Yep. Before Christmas, because this is regardless. So that was
right. It ended right before the new year.
Right. So that was kind of crazy in itself. And this being 22 chapters, pretty much has been done and is like in a couple of months. And it's been beautiful. That being said, I'm not sure is there anything else on Cable 6 that you got?
No, because like I said, this is sending us hurtling into the last 3 chapters, so I'm happy about that. I'm looking to it. I'm definitely looking forward to getting these books next week. So
sure.
All right.
What's next?
What is indeed? Well, you pick.
FF number 26.
Okay. Good.
Fantastic Four number 26. So this is a potential click of the week for me. And this issue starts off in the most wacky, not what you think is happening story. The Man-Thing makes an appearance, and we all know that whoever knows fear burns at the Man-Thing's touch, and it's not what you think is happening.
And they are mandated to say that every time he comes by.
And, it's not what you think, and everything flows from this point in the book. It's just a fun and crazy issue that actually ties off a few dangling plot threads.
Yeah.
Keeps pulling on a bunch of other story threads to keep those story threads moving forward. But among these dangling plot threads that get solved, I'm not going to describe exactly what happens, but it does involve this Forever Gate. And it also tends to further some of the more recent storylines. We definitely tie off the thread about Franklin wanting to go to Krakoa and his mutant status. We tie off the situation with the Future Foundation being lost in space.
Yeah, which one was like, oh right, they're still out there.
Especially when you see Mr. and Mrs. Power and
Anome's dead.
Her uncle, right?
No, dad.
Oh, it's her dad. Okay,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember because I remember it was only one of her relations. So it's her dad and Mr. and Mrs. Power, and they're like, well, you guys came back, the Future Foundation didn't, and I'm like, oh snap!
Exactly.
I'm dealing with this. This is awesome.
And then it was like, okay, hey, no problem. Boop.
Right. So many dangling plot threads. We even get a dangling plot thread somewhat dealt with in terms of Johnny Storm having to face up to Sky about all of his past dalliances and marriages,
including one that because of the Future Foundation, that comes back into play.
Exactly. I forgot that she was out there with them.
I didn't, because I remember reading that from Future Foundation. I was like, oh, okay. And then this happens.
I absolutely forgot. So the best part about this is that the Torch and Sky are having not an argument, but definitely a very passionate conversation.
I don't know. I would go so far as to say this was probably their first big fight.
Well,
to an extent, like it's not a fight as you said, it's not that much of a fight in certain relations, but it is because they're kind of having a very difficult discussion about something that has never come up before.
And of
A
course,
couple, rather.
right, they're so into what they're discussing that they completely they completely miss what they're supposed to be doing, which is guarding Forever Gate. And what happens is that the Forever Gate lets in a whole mess.
Right. So after the Future Foundation came back, they're apparently in there. Got two geniuses amongst them, and they forgot to close the gate, or they forgot to turn off the beacon of the gate.
Right. Exactly.
Well, they can't. Well, they can't close the gate, but they could turn off the beacon that they were using to bring the Future Foundation back home.
Right. The beacon was keeping the gate open,
right.
And they were, I guess, trying to figure out how to fix that. But in the interim, a bunch of alien life forms decided to walk through the gate in pursuit or drawn by the beacon that Reed Richards had set up for the Future Foundation. And it turns out this is yet another story thread that is being pulled upon, not necessarily being tied off, but definitely Slott is pulling upon this story thread to develop, future storylines. So I really appreciated this issue.
Right. It actually harkens back to the beginning of this volume.
Right. It seemed to me like this was just a great issue where Slott had, it was kind of like a point in his story where it made perfect sense to tie in a whole bunch of stories together and then have them branch out from there. And I really thought this was just a masterful stroke. Also, the art by R.B. Silva is killer. The colors by Jesus Aburtov is killer. It's just a great book to look at. I enjoyed this from beginning to end. When I looked at who they were dealing with, I was like, the Who? And as Roddykat mentioned, this is a callback to early in their run.
Mm-hmm. And granted, that hasn't been that, like, it's only been, a couple of years at this point, which is kind of weird to say.
You've heard me say it before. We read so many comics, it's hard to remember.
Right.
So I definitely will have to go back and consult those early issues and see what this character, everything this character was about. But it definitely started to ring some bells, but I didn't have much recall when it came to the character's name. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, the presentation of this book, the storytelling, the art, great package. We've said that issue 25 was a great jumping on point. I think that you can still jump on in this issue, and you'll still see a lot of things getting tied off, and it's definitely leading into some great stories, I hope.
Right, and they did say that this issue was definitely going to be the one that was going to be the turning point in things with these characters. I know Slott's coming out to say it. Solicitors from been saying that, and other things he kind of been saying, like, yeah, this issue is kind of the one. So it's like, well, this is going to change stuff, and sure enough, true to the word, this is kind of where we're getting the future stories, and some things. This is where the change happens, basically. I think I remember there was one other thing I was going to say about this issue, but I can't remember what it is, so it probably doesn't matter. But yeah, it was definitely a good read for sure. And who knew this one gate, was going to be the crux of of a lot of things going on. But the one thing I was going to just mention briefly was just kind of a slightly smaller point, but it is one. Valeria, being the one who made the gate in the first place, figured out in this issue, how to control, how to get places in it.
And she had an ulterior motive herself.
True.
She had her own ulterior motive to try to use this gate, and that's another dangling plot thread that gets tied off.
Exactly. So
I would also, you know what I wanted to ask before we moved on?
What's up?
Did you happen to notice of the characters that were coming through the gate, R.B. Silva's art didn't exactly highlight some of them, or was that part of the coloring, or was that part of our review copy? It's gonna make me pull my fist.
I honestly looked at that group and I was like, wow, that's a lot of people, but I didn't pay that close of attention to who or what races, or any familiar races, because we do know. Let's just say that a lot of those races probably most of that, all of those races have to do with, again, going back to the beginning of this volume and Franklin's universe making or planet making, remaking of the planets.
I'm actually referring to part of the Future Foundation, so I want to compare my physical copy to our review copy to see if these characters are in fact also shown in shade. Yeah, they're shown in silhouette.
Oh yeah, the rest of the crew, yeah.
The Future Foundation are all are almost all shown in silhouette. Like,
Yeah.
wow, we don't know what's happened to them. They're all assumed, just like the FF kids, they're assumed to have aged. So we don't actually see what Artie and Leech look like. We don't see what Onome looks like. We don't see, we do get to see the Moloid kids,
right?
And obviously Dragon Man's an android,
right.
But it's funny that there are certain characters shown strictly in silhouette and are referred to. We're supposed to know who they are by their shapes, and who is and the people addressing them.
Well, let's see. Yeah, from what I'm looking at, the ones that are silhouetted are specifically the Powers kids, but everybody else you can kind of see relatively clear shots of.
I was about to say Artie and Leech are also shaded.
Well, they are shaded, and yeah,
silhouette also. And like I said, Onome is in silhouette also. You don't see her at all. That's interesting.
Well, yeah, the one time you do see her is when she's hugged up on her dad, which you don't really necessarily get to see her face. So yeah, you're right.
She's getting on some aircraft, some Wakandan aircraft, I assume.
Yeah. Or is that?
Also see Bentley clearly, and what's funny is that of the characters that we do see clearly from that Future Foundation series, I assume are the ones we're going to see more often in this book.
That's what it seems like, yeah. And also another character whom I don't think you read Future Foundation, who was not originally with them, who ended up coming along during the course of that book, is a character from another from another universe who happened to be in that in that issue. So yeah, and they showed this person, and I guess we're gonna see something with them.
So definitely this is as Roddykat mentioned. I forgot that I don't remember seeing Slott say that this is going to be the issue that changes everything, or gets the changes rolling. But this definitely an issue that pushed storylines along. That that's an understatement.
Maybe that's not the Wakanda craft. Maybe that's the Future Foundation craft. I'm thinking.
Well, in any event, they're getting on this craft to go to wherever it is they got to go because
because they're dropping off everybody.
There's no room for them at Yancey Street.
Right. Well, I mean, technically there is, but yeah, they're just like, no, we're just going to send all these people home and then just leave it with these other colored people because I mean they can, they have all that spatial technology where they can do all that well. So they could have room, but yeah, they just want to get all these people off the board.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I guess it kind of also makes sense to bring them back because supposedly Power Pack has got a book coming out, or should have been out by now, but thanks to Outlawed, and I don't know if I guess that's still happening.
What's that?
The Power Pack book.
I don't.
Because remember, Outlawed's supposed to have them come back in the New Warriors, but we don't know the status of that stuff.
Not sure. Would have to take a look at the solicitation.
I mean, it's not important now, but the fact that they are now back, or at least a couple of the older members of the powers are back in the group, and I guess that could
gets them back on the board, yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, Fantastic Four 26 was a pretty good read. I dare say probably another potential click of the week, if I dare say.
Nice.
Going that.
Right.
That being said, let us go towards. Actually, you know what? As a slight tie to that, Immortal Hulk, number 40.
All right.
As I type this up, you did say you did read that, right?
I did read it. I will say that if this is again written by Al Ewing with pencils by Joe Bennett. Inks by Rui Jose and Bilardino Bravo, and colors by Paul Mounts and Matt Milla. This is also a potential click of the week for me.
Oh, nice.
I would say that, there is a separate Alpha Flight station.
Yes, that was so. Yeah, in the past couple of episodes, we've been kind of wondering about that, especially with knowing that the peak is back in play in the X corner of the universe. But I figured we had already established that by now. But yeah, this is if we didn't already have confirmation, then we have it now for certain. But I feel like we already had that confirmation before now.
Yeah,
so
we should do, but it's just one of those things. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, we read a lot of comic books,
right?
So
Alpha Flight's got a separate station than the peak.
Right. It's one of those things that definitely passes, and we think that we know the information, but it's just something that passes under our noses. I'll note that Leonard Samson returns, but not how we expect him to.
Right.
We also get another return in the form of Henry Peter Guyrick.
I saw that and I was like, wow. Now, granted, I feel like he might have. Again, this is one of those things where we read out and I'm not sure. I feel like he may have shown up in Avengers when that whole Squadron Supreme stuff going on. I'm not sure, but I don't know. But yeah, but regardless, that is a classic name that hasn't been seen in a minute, whether that's the case or not.
I'm pretty sure you're correct. Dealing with the Coulson, with Coulson and that Squadron Supreme stuff over in Avengers.
Right.
Henry Peter Guyrick, for those who don't know, is the eternal government bad guy. He's actually revealed as the new acting commander of Alpha Flight and Gamma Flight, which is why he's in this book. We have the Joe Fixit personality taking charge, and Joe makes a break for it, and we have a really cool cliffhanger at the end. I really like the pacing in this issue. I'm definitely not spoiling all the little things that happen here and some of the reveals that happen here amongst the characters, which is really cool that they're actually, figuring things out without having to have them revealed to them, really. Especially thanks to the return of Doc Samson in his new form.
Right. Which we knew the form was coming back, but what we didn't know how and where. But I guess you could piece it together if you think about what's been going on behind the scenes in the green place or the place below, whatever the case may be. If he was one of those smart people to be like, okay, well, this could happen, But it is still weird to see, and I'm pretty sure. Well, I know for a fact because I think it's been said that it's like not everybody's. Well, I don't want to say not everybody's pleased to see the Doc Samson back in the form that he is, but I'm sure there was definitely a line that was like, hey, that's not, that's kind of crazy, not necessarily saying like that, but that's kind of like, you just kind of took this form, huh? Because it was there. But, again, you would have to catch up with the stuff that's been going on with that character and, or those two characters and what's going on, so we won't necessarily spoil that either.
I mean, we're 40 issues in. It's a little hard to jump on now.
Yeah, and that stuff kind of came in the last 10, 15.
Right. It's worth catching up. Yeah. For anyone that has been listening to us at all, you'll know that we are fans of the Immortal Hulk run from Al Ewing and Joe Bennett. So it is definitely worth going back and picking this book up or reading it through Marvel Unlimited with their new, 3-month turnaround on books or trade paperbacks. Totally worth it for Immortal Hulk.
True. At the end of this issue, though, which was kind of funny and totally unexpected, we get a potential possible rematch, but I doubt if that's going to happen, given that the image from the next issue. But we don't know who's
right.
But let's just say, given a person from that last book that we just discussed shows up in this book, wanting a rematch, because again, that also played out in the aforementioned last book some time ago. In basically, I just go, Fantasy Four. There was a match that happened, and now this person's come back looking for a rematch. So, that part was unexpected. I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens with that. And yes, and we do know this book is ending at 50, and this is this is 40, so this looks to be there's probably going to be some potential wrapping up coming up on some stuff going forward, and knowing knowing the writer, yeah, it's probably going to be leading some other stuff also.
Probably. Listen, this is a great book. I cannot recommend it enough. I think Roddykat will second that. So
True.
we endorse this book, and we're going to be finishing this book up early in 2021. So we'll see where this goes from here. But I am very glad that we've been on board with Immortal Hulk from day one.
Oh, for sure. That being said, we can move on to...
You want to get like one more book in there, and then we'll do rapid fire?
Sure. Let me see what because did you read this?
I've not covered... We literally covered 3 books with 10 of Swords, so...
Yeah, true. I don't know. You pick...
I was wondering if you want to do something entertaining. We can talk about either Juggernaut or Spider-Woman.
That's exactly what I was thinking. So yeah, either one of those will work fine. So I was kind of leaning towards Juggernaut, but Spider-Woman is...
Go ahead. You want to lean towards Juggernaut? That's fine.
So Juggernaut number 3, and it's only for a specific thing. There's some still stuff we still don't know, but regardless, Juggernaut number 3 came out this week, and we see Kane Marco on trial for a run-in with Spider-Man.
A classic run-in with Spider-Man.
Right. And apparently he's just now, well, obviously since he spent a lot of time either on the run or from the law, they weren't catching him. So, but now they finally caught up with him, and this case, which I figured there was a statute of limitations for cases like that, but
and
sure, there is that. And see, and that was the thing, because it's like, well, wait a minute now, because if that happened so long ago, even regardless of rubber band continuity, that seemed like that was a while ago for this to become still a thing in play. But like Agent 7 said, rubber band continuity could play havoc with things in this universe.
Yeah, when Steve Rogers came out of the ice after 9/11, so it's one of those things.
Yeah, but
tough.
But yeah, so Kane Marco's on trial, and I don't know, maybe you have heard this name in a while, but he is defended by a name that I haven't heard in a good while.
We've all talked about her as one of the past love interests of one Steve Rogers.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, exactly. One Bernie Rosenthal, and I was like, dang, I hadn't heard that name in a while. So so Marvel's continuing to kind of pull out these deep cuts on us in their 80th anniversary year. But regardless, the trial goes on and then gets interrupted. D-Cell's over there doing her live streaming thing. With that part kind of irks me because of YouTube, YouTubers and the whole thing. But by the way, we're live on YouTube now, so hi.
It's allowed in New York State courts.
What'd you say?
It's not allowed in New York State courts.
I wouldn't think that would be allowed in any courts, and that's what I was going to, that was even asked, when we saw that coming. So that's the whole thing. But and of course, D-Cell's like using some statute that she doesn't necessarily have a privy to, but
claims to be press, but you need to have press credentials to do that.
Exactly.
And permission from the court to do that. So that's a double.
Neither of which she probably had.
Right. One of the things I would note, though, is that we find out what Kane Marco did to reinvent himself after he was initially depowered by magic of the X-Men in the Rosenberg X-Men run. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting to see that it's still related to what he to his former power source.
Right. So yeah, we definitely see that. And now I'm just going to go ahead and say this because there's something in the news section. I don't think of it the way they did. But classically we've seen Kane Marco, and we've pretty much always have seen him in the armor. We've never necessarily seen him that many times out of the armor, unless except for that one time with She-Hulk in the bed, but and probably a couple other times. But regardless, he basically now with this new armor can, I guess, will it onto him.
Right.
And there's an article out there basically calling that a weakness. And I'm not sure if that's actually correct, but again, this is theorizing. They're theorizing, and we don't know for certain because
it's a little premature,
right,
to call it that, because we're literally just finding out now that I think it's understood that he's not as powerful as he used to be.
Right.
I think it's understood, but at the same time, we're still learning a lot about, since we now know what the origin of his reinvented powers are.
Right.
It's interesting to see what the limits of it are. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
His former limits were fairly well known, and what he could do was fairly well known prior to this, with him previously being powered by the gem of Sidorak.
Right.
Oh.
But at the same time, like, knowing what we know about Kane Marco, when he does not have the power, and we've seen this even in this issue, he's pretty much Banner to Hulk in size and stature and all that kind of good mess. So because we see him in his big bulky form at the beginning of this, even without his armor, I feel like some of that is still at play. He just armored up,
Right.
So
I
can't necessarily call that a weakness when he's still big and bulky and he doesn't. It'd be a different story if he did a She-Hulk type change and grew and bulked
right.
up. Right. Type. So I'm not sure. That doesn't seem like much of a weakness.
Right.
But that is just me nitpicking on the article that just like and also we can bypass that when we get to that point in the news. Outside of that, so like I said, the trial is interrupted by. I vaguely remember this character, honestly. I called her in my notes Lady Sandman. At first, but I did know this person's name was Quicksand, who apparently was after D-Cell.
Mm-hmm.
Which one would question, well, how did she know we was there? Well, obviously she's live streaming the thing, so that's pretty much no. But we come to find out that Quicksand is after D-Cell, so Juggernaut is fighting her along with D-Cell with a little bit of help. At the end, they kind of figure that out, and they go to figure out, what caused Quicksand to, or or who cause Quicksand to want to go after him, but what we don't know is the why, which I guess we will find out in the next couple of issues, because there's only 2 issues left in this miniseries, and we don't necessarily know where it was going or what was even the other purpose of this miniseries, but it's been enjoyable regardless. That being said, and this matter of fact, hell, going back to another Captain America thing, we come to find out that the person that was behind the attack is another classic Captain America villain.
Right.
Which is,
that's funny.
That can't be a coincidence that we have 2 Captain America, side characters or characters coming into this. Like, that can't be that much of a coincidence.
That's funny.
Also, there was a reference to Bull Durham, which I'm like, I don't know if any young person nowadays would even know that movie, much less the person who mentions it, that being D-Cell in this issue. But that's just me being an old person.
That's funny.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much Juggernaut number 3 in a nutshell. It was good. It was kind of good. Like I said, the references aside, and I mean not even aside, but the references and all that, and the action, and what we come to find out. And of course, there's some damage control in there, which I always love. But these two people, yeah, it is what it is.
It's entertaining.
It definitely is.
Be entertaining, but it is. So.
Yeah. Oh, and that court case gets settled during the course of this, without giving what the case was or part of what the case was about. But that kind of gets settled in it. And as I'm saying in my notes, lemons given, lemonade made.
And you know what? The Garney art, it's definitely his newer style, but it's dynamic. His art is always dynamic. Yeah. So it's definitely fun to look at. It's very fast paced. Nitzieza, his story, definitely has some witty banter in it too. So, it's definitely fun. Anything else before we get to rapid fire?
No, I think that's it.
All right, I'll spin it up and we will cover these books.
Rapido fire, cuz. I don't know. I should stop saying that, but I probably won't for a minute. You go.
I was about to say we have a lot of issues in common.
That's true.
Amazing Spider-Man number 53, written by Nick Spencer, with pencils by Mark Bagley, inks by John Dell, and colors by Edgar Delgado. Coming off the cliffhanger from last issue, we see that Kindred is putting Peter Parker through a walk down memory lane, which ends in a big reveal for Kindred to Peter. We also get a glimpse of Normie Osborn and Liz Allen, but that's pretty much what we get in this issue.
Well, yeah, and that reveal, and I don't know if it was the art or that was intentional, because I mean, obviously, we know who it is and we know whose son he is,
right?
But that reveal at the end was like, well, wait. Is that really a gotcha, or is that like them playing with the fact that those two characters are that similar, or is this another kind of more than likely a trick by Kindred to obfuscate some things? Because it's not like the reveal didn't happen, but when he unmasked him, when Kindred unmasked himself at the end, I was like, what, really? So, but I guess we'll find out in either the likely LR issue that's coming up or the next issue proper.
Right. Next up is Batman number 103, written by James Tynion IV, with art by Carlo Pagulayan, Danny Mickey, and Guillaume March, with colors by David Barron. The Ghostmaker, the new character, and Batman continue their physical and philosophical duel, with Harley and the Clown Hunter in the mix. Next up is Captain America number 25. There's two parts to this book, and I make that distinction for a reason. The first story is written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, with art by Leonard Kirk and colors by Matt Miller. Sharon Carter and Cap move to rescue the Daughters of Liberty and Thunderbolt Ross in Madripoor, but the Red Skull and Alexa Lukin, revealed to have had a long-standing relationship with the daughters, counter. The backup story, though, is written by Anthony Falcone with an art by Michael Cho. And it is truly a reaffirming story, not just for fans of Cap, but for Americans. Of course, it is written by a Canadian. Big, heavy sigh. This is the backup story is actually a click of the week for me, but I don't think we can do that. It has to be, I think, an issue. So I'm going to
you can give a shout out. Sure, I guess.
Exactly. I'm gonna make this an honorable mention. Dark Knights. You thought this wasn't gonna come back, but it is. Dark Knights. Death Metal number 5.
Excellent!
Written by Scott Snyder, pencils by Greg Capullo, inked by Jonathan Glapian. Honestly, I read these issues quickly to see where they're going. But Roddykat would be happy because Wonder Woman has taken the lead throughout this story. So my only note to Roddykat is obviously a lot of the filler material and the the padding of the story and the various crossovers into Justice League and into all these crazy one shots. Yeah, they do relate back to this main story in this issue actually, but I would say that you could probably ignore all that stuff if you just want to see Wonder Woman really take the reins. I would ask you to take a look at these issues, just the limited series.
I mean, that's not a surprise. Like I said before this event happened, even Justice League proper, she had kind of been taking field lead of the thing in the last couple of arcs. So yeah, that's not that big of a surprise. I didn't think they were actually going that way, because supposedly like Green Lantern is the lead, but like I said, when they get out there, it's kind of like a Captain America situation, where she's kind of just takes the thing. But yeah, ever since that last couple of arcs, she's kind of been doing the thing. So
she's taking the lead in the sense that she is the center of the focus of the story.
Cool.
The last thing I have is Spider-Woman number 6. I think we both read this also.
Yep.
It's written by Carla Pacheco with art by Pere Perez. Frank Darmada has colors. The story of diving further into Jessica's past continues, and the side effects of the serum that she's taking to stay alive prove to be very prove to have comical effect in the story.
Yeah. But the funny part about it, though, is like, okay, knowing what we know about Jess, regardless, like, it's not like this is that far out of the realm of her temperament-wise, like, not to this extent.
Right.
But her temperament can kind of already, can be a thing. So it was like, this is not that much of a stretch that the serum she's taking is enhancing that part as well as her strength. But yeah, it's been a good read, regardless. You said that's it for you?
That is it.
Because I don't think there was anything else to say about that outside of... Oh, yeah, there was a Indiana Jones reference. In space!
Oh, yes. It belongs!
I got a kick out of that. That was pretty good. But yeah, their thing to find High Evolutionary, which I have no idea where he's been in the last few years.
Right, which is kind of what puts me off of this story a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to see where this goes because I'm willing to learn about Jessica Drew's history.
Right.
Aside from going into the OHOTMU and looking at some of the previous issues that they might cite, I'm kind of curious to see how this is all how this is all tied together.
Right, and as a couple of books are doing this week, and just in general, the end of this book sees her running into King in Black,
right,
which made me groan. So, yeah, but also there's in the letters page there's some. I don't even know if they teach this in elementary, middle school science anymore, but there's some certain squares, I think they're called Punnett squares, that used to teach about like genealogy and having to do with like well, you get this traits from, well, not this but DNA rather, but you get this trait from this friend, this friend, this, but in a square form. You know what I'm talking about. That kind of comes up in the letters page, and I was like, I hadn't seen that in so long. That's kind of weird.
Yep. Like,
that has nothing to do. Well, it has less to do with this issue, but but it does kind of have something to do with what's been going on with Jessica and the thing.
It's part of. I was about to say it's part of the whole. It's part of the whole storyline involved with the serum.
Mm-hmm. So, and somebody asked the question as why it didn't affect, certain. Why is it not affecting certain members of Reverend than others, and that gets explained, but that's the whole thing. Anyway, that's that. So you're finished, and we're gonna go to mine, which starting off with Teen Titans number 47. This is the last issue of the series for now, because we do know future states coming up. And in fact, at the end of this issue, they pretty much lead us down that road, because they've been going on the last couple of issues trying to wrap up and recapture all of the escaped people that they had and captured and did things and trying to atone for what they've you know, what Damian's been doing with them. Damian and them have been doing with them in previous arcs, and Damian's nowhere around anymore because he gave up Robin. You know, it's a whole thing. But so the last person, they finally caught up with them, and then got another note from Damian, which led them to Nightwing, which is basically leading them into Future State, but not before going into another event that is coming up next month. This endless winter thing that DC's got going on. So, like I said, so that's ending. They'll be in a endless state for, I guess, a one shot. I'm not even sure, but according to the checklist at the back of the book, and then going into Future State with basically a Teen Titans Academy, from what we've seen from the solicits and news from DC's, you know, from DC Future State. Which, by the way, I guess I'll go ahead so far as to say is that solicitors are out for February, but we'll be talking probably about some stuff in a few minutes on that front. Widowmaker, Red Guardian, and Yelena Belova #1. So I don't know if y'all folks know this, but Black Widow's got a movie coming out. True story. MCU. Yeah, that's right. But she's gonna have a movie, and these two characters that I just mentioned are going to be in it. So this is pretty much why this book exists, more than likely than not. But what starts off as a well, one, the narrative language of this book was kind of weird because we know Yelena Belova is Russian, and you see some internal monologue with her in Russian English, I should say, which in a couple of cases is slightly off-putting, but I get it. She's Russian, and so sure, that kind of English. It's going to be the classic. If you've ever seen a person doing an English or a Russian doing an accent or whatever it means, kind of talks like that. But regardless, what started off to be a retrieval ended up being a training mission for some experience in an old SHIELD prison and a breakout for one of the title characters of the book. And apparently, Red Guardian is now Captain Boomerang. And at the end of this issue, Yelena's got a new mission, which, as they say after that, probably goes somewhat into what's going on in the pages of... Well, actually, it doesn't really go on with what's going on in the pages of Black Widow, but they basically said, hey, you want to see more of her? She's over there, which she has been. Swordmaster number 12. We found out how...
And just for a quick second, note that the Widowmaker Yelena Belova and Red Guardian book the story is by Devin Grayson. It's nice to see her.
Who actually made the character of Yelena, I believe. Yelena.
I'm not sure, but
I think it said that, yeah. Or I saw something that might have said that.
That's cool. I was gonna say that's it. Welcome back. I know that she's had some stories dipping her toe back into Marvel Comics recently, so glad to see her back in the game.
Right. Cool. But Swordmaster number 12, which is the last issue of this book, I believe, for if not for a while, then just in general, it's kind of like the Arrow thing. We found out how Chiyo, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, so I apologize if I'm butchering it. So it might be Chiyu or Chiyo. Basically, the god of war was originally improved. We found out how that happened, and we found out the involvement of Lin Lai's dad and brother's involvement with that, with more specifically his escape. But Lin sets off to deal with Chiyu, but first he needs to get some training by the young lady who came to get him in the first few, Shuang. And again, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that either, but my apologies if I'm butchering that, because I don't mean to do that. Meanwhile, Lin's brother is making his way to see him, only to be stopped by the book ending and some magical trees. And of course, at the end of this, you see the whole thing that says, hey, you want to see more Swordmaster? read Atlantis Attacks, which is also about to end next issue, and go into Kingdom Black, which is about to do that same thing. So yeah. Let's see what's next. Last but not least, Marvel Voices, Indigenous Voices #1. So we're in the first Marvel Voices anthology. Had like, you know, stories and some written text and all kinds of stuff, ranging from a lot of voices that we don't necessarily get to hear from, and some that we do. This one is kind of focusing on indigenous characters, you know, Native American, such as like in this particular issue we have 4 short stories with like Echo, Danny Moonstar, oh shoot, I forgot who else was in this book, but and a couple other people, but regardless, have stories in this. At the front, I'm not sure if this is going. I think it seems like the way it sounds like it's set up, there's probably going to be, because they set it up to where there's like at least good 12 to 24 names that they put in the front of the book that Uatu was talking about. So this might be issue 1 of a couple. I'm not entirely sure. So we may end up seeing some more stories from some of these other characters that were mentioned at the front of this book, which would be cool. But it's an interesting read. Just check it out. The first story, the one with Echo, has to do with her fighting some Badoon god or something like that. I can't remember, that Loki put her up to. Just out the blue. Again, you know, it was kind of weird, but she's also in a moment where she's trying to figure out some things for herself. And you know, the Danny Moonstar is her and Rain going after a young Native American mutant who's been troubled recently. Both are pretty good, decent stories, and the couple of other ones that are in here are all right as well. But you know, if you're interested in such a thing, you should check that out. I think there's an afterword by Taboo of the Black Eyed Peas, who was writing that the Werewolf by Night book. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, so you can check that out.
It's important to always remember representation matters.
Absolutely. And I believe the stories in this book are also written by people of Native American heritage, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe art too. I'm not sure about the art in certain cases, but yeah. So definitely check it out. And that is where we bring us to Clicks of the Week. And this week we did not get anything from our other co-hosts. Guess they're busy. I don't know. But I'm probably just going to strongly go ahead and say, if it wasn't apparent by now, X-Force number 14 for mine. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what's going to be.
That was a good issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Fantastic Four number 26. I think I had the absolute most fun this week reading. It was just, you know, from beginning to end, just lots of, you know, it just reminded me of one of those books that just had a million things going on, but it was so satisfying. You know, it was just satisfying to see all these little storylines getting taken care of, but also, you know, causing new stories to spring up from their ending. So it was pretty cool.
True. Absolutely true. Cool. And on that note, we will move on to the news, but first, an ad read.
All right. Our first ad read of the night is for Funko Fun at First Sight. It's your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world-famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise including custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now, the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. to place your first order with 10% off. And to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Funko through cspn.us. Do it today. Now we get into news.
Well, darn it. Mute button. Always a great thing. Disney Plus's She-Hulk gets a perfect working title, which I was going to bring up to 8-70 at the end of last week because I was wanting to see if maybe they were filming somewhere around him. But I guess according to Production Weekly, the working title for She-Hulk is Libra, a reference to the scale in both the eponymous zodiac sign and the basis for its mark, the scales of justice. This title fits the show as it has a connection to She-Hulk's profession as a lawyer. It may also indicate that Jay Jance's occupation could play a large part of the series. A similar case happened with Ms. Marvel, with the working title for that one being Jersey. So, yeah, cool. I mean, the most you could hope for in this in this show, well, one, confirmation of who who's going to play her, and two, that they absolutely do use some, they actually do dip into her lawyering stuff and or go into Slot's run, which is kind of silly, but I doubt if it'll go that far. Or and a couple of other people who's kind of, and I don't know if we're going to get fourth wall breaking She-Hulk, but, I kind of doubt that. But we could. We'll see. Next up.
Alrighty. The Hawkeye directors, the directors of the Hawkeye Disney Plus show, might have confirmed Haley Steinfeld is in the series. Hawkeye's set for his own Disney Plus spinoff, joining the likes of WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Kate Bishop, his protege in the comics, is most likely set to appear, and rumors have been swirling that Haley Steinfeld could be portraying the character. Now, thanks to directors Bert and Bertie, who are set to helm some episodes of the series, we might have gotten our best indication yet that Steinfeld will be in the series. The director duo recently followed Renner and Steinfeld on Instagram, which might seem like nothing important, but does give some credence to the speculation, with multiple outlets picking up on the story. Okay.
No, that still seems like nothing. I mean, let's be honest here. Just because you follow somebody on Instagram, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be working with them. Hell, if that's the case, never mind.
I was about to say, I've got deals with a lot of Hollywood people.
Well, I don't have Hollywood, but there's some people in the past that are doing some things that, or if that were the case, what I guess means something. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I guess I don't know. It sometimes when you're looking at these articles, like, what, is this actually news or is this actually like something that's not? And yeah, this kind of was one of those that kind of seems not. But regardless, just in case it is, it's here. Next up, though, the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I guess speaking of a similar thing, the Falcon and Winter Soldier star Sebastian Stan shares not safe for work rant about Loki actor Tom Hiddleston. This doesn't seem as bad as what you think it is, though. Whatever you do, don't plaster Sebastian Stan's trailer with photos of Tom Hiddleston. As evidenced by a not safe for work rant, the Falcon and Winter Soldier star posted on Thursday, he doesn't take kindly when others allow the Loki star to take over his trailer in the form of printed photographs. The video takes place immediately after the MCU superstar gets back to his trailer on set, only to find that it's full of dozens of pictures of Hiddleston, someone on set printed off to tape around Stan's trailer. My money's on Anthony Mackie, but who knows? I would have started, quote, this is a quote, I would have started to film before I opened the door if I had known what was going on walking into. I guess this is from his Instagram video. And then he just kind of goes off on that, a little random film, which you can get to in the article provided in the show notes. Next.
All right. In an interview with Argentine newspaper Clarín, reported on in English by Deadline, executive producer Victoria Alonso stated that Marvel Studios would not be using any sort of technology to recreate Chadwick Boseman within Black Panther 2. There's only Chadwick, and he's no longer with us. Alonso says, sadly, our king has died in real life, not only in fiction, and we're taking a little time to see how we continue the story and how to honor this chapter of what has unexpectedly happened to us. So painful and terrible, to be honest. She continued praising the actor on a personal level. Chadwick wasn't only a wonderful human being every day of the 5 years we spent together, but also she believes that what he did as a character elevated us as a company and has left his moment on history. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of good that they're not going the digital route, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Depending on how they handle it, it would probably go to some use, but again, probably just as well. Next up, though, John Boyega responds to James Bond fan and Letitia Wright casting suggestions. So, let's see. Black Panther star Letitia Wright thinks Star Wars actor John Boyega would make a great James Bond. Okay, sure. When asked about it, the Rise of Skywalker lead said that he would be more than open to doing the idea if Steve McQueen is directing. And I saw this one like, wait, Steve McQueen is dead, but this is not the same Steve McQueen.
Yeah, say that confused me the first time I saw his name too. The director.
Exactly. So apparently I don't know if this is actually in relation to said actor, but apparently there's a person that's a director named Steve McQueen. But he said, hey, listen, with Steve McQueen directing, let's do this. We could show them something different. We could still bring that sophistication. James Bond has to be James Bond, but we could do something with that. So that's the thing that maybe, I don't know, if it was allowed to happen, maybe it could happen. Who knows? Next up, though.
The Mandalorian actress Ming-Na Wen, who we know as the Cavalry from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Amongst other things.
Exactly. Encouraged fans to petition to bring back her gunslinging character in future episodes of the show. Wen appeared in the first season's 5th episode as Fennec Shand. Mando joined forces with Toro Calican, played by Jake Cannavale, to capture Shand so that Calican could join the guild. Things did not go according to plan, and the 3 bounty hunters ended up facing off with each other on Tatooine. So, Calican actually shoots Shand and attempts to take the bounty on Mando and the child for himself. Wen's character was left in a dire position with a blaster shot to the stomach in the middle of the desert. That was the last appearance of Fennec Shand, despite the fact that the show has returned to Tatooine since. And it was also teased that it was Boba Fett who came up on her at the end of that show, if I'm not mistaken.
That was one theory. There was because that was there was like it was either him or the sheriff guy from the theory that I heard from the first episode of the second season. And yeah, as we know, anything from the Star Wars universe, like people have come back from worse. From worse. I mean, you get cut in half. You would think that would be a little more final, and yet a character comes back from that. So being shot in the stomach could, and also being found at the case, we still don't know. So couldn't actually bring her back. We'll see how that works out. Petitions still are what it was, but I would love to see her back. We don't necessarily have any. I think this is pretty much the only Mandalorian related news outside of some Baby Yoda stuff. a Baby Yoda thing, but that has to do with the toy. So I don't know if you want to.
Oh, you want to talk about episode 3?
Sure.
All right, so spoiler bell is ringing, even though it has been a week and we're about to get episode 4 in several hours. But I'm still going to ring it because I know that people appreciate not being spoiled. So here comes the spoiler bell for Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 3 in 3, 2, 1. So yeah, were you giddy throughout this show, especially after the shock of the Quarren jerk faces kicking Baby Yoda into the mouth of whatever that was? I was like, yo!
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? That was not cool. Damn Quarrens. But yeah, so the crux of it was we find the after the last episode, the Mandalorians with the frog lady and her brood and Baby Yoda, and they're heading to the next planet in the system, going to find her to reunite her with her husband, beloved soulmate, whoever it is. So that happens
actually happens.
Yes, and that happens in this episode.
I actually didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure if they were going to actually do that now, but it didn't seem like something they were just going to linger on. But, but the way the show sometimes goes, it's like, they'll probably send them off on something else before they actually reunite. But no, it didn't happen. It's just like, here you go. We're here.
I was about to say, what I love is that, especially in the binge mode Facebook group, I think I saw a meme, get you someone that looks at you like the frog, the frog lady and the frog man look at each other.
It was very adorable. It was quite adorable. It was, yeah, I admit it. It's like, oh, look at them.
They're happy.
Yeah, like Baby Yoda didn't eat any more eggs. In fact, at one part, before the Mandalorian goes to do the part we'll talk about in a second, the Mandalorian leaves Baby Yoda with the frog people, which potentially could have been a problem, but Mandalorian's like, you know what I'm talking about. Don't act up.
Yep.
So
it was pretty good. Yeah. So it was funny that the frog couple became babysitters for a child, while Mando is off on a mission. It was pretty crazy. Getting back to the thing with the Quarren, because you knew something was up the way they were stupidly laughing.
Yeah. Because especially in a situation like that, it was like, okay, well, yeah. So first, when they get there and they all meet and all that kind of stuff, and the Mandalorian's like, hey, I need to. You told me you'd find out. You told me who could help me find my people. Then they go into this bar, and and which meets up with a Quarren who meets up with another Quarren who's like, yeah, I can get you there, and then he ends up on his boat. And then that's when this scene happens that we're referring to, where the Quarrens basically use Baby Yoda as literal bait food for this thing that they caught and they were trying to feed. And I was like, well, that's kind of messed up. And they got what they deserved.
They absolutely did, because of the intervention.
Right, because so the Mandalorian went in after the child, obviously, and then the Quarren had notions of trying to get the Beskar armor off of him after the thing eats him, whatever the thing eats him. I was like, wait, is this actually I don't know. It would seem like it was an aquatic version of Sarlacc. Let's put it that way. That's what it seemed like. I don't know what that thing actually is. They called it by name for something, but I don't remember what it is. Regardless, but it's just think of it as a water Sarlacc, which more likely it probably is. I didn't look it up. But regardless, they get their comeuppance in the adventure of 3, not just 1, 3. Huh?
I said not 2.
Yeah, not 2, but 3 folks in Mandalorian armor. One of which, if you have been watching the Clone Wars, and I guess she did show up in Rebels 2 at some point. I think. I don't remember if she actually did. Regardless, Clone Wars, one Bo-Katan.
Oh my goodness.
Which we knew was coming. Which we knew was a thing that was coming. But we get a live action Bo-Katan played and voiced by this person who voiced them in Clone Wars one.
Coming.
Yeah,
it's one coming to actually see them though.
Right.
It's still a thrill.
It was kind of a trip because I'm like, wow, I don't believe this. So yes, it's Katie Sackhoff, aka Starbuck from the BSG reboot, the Battlestar Galactica reboot, is the voice and the face of Bo-Katan, and she and a couple of other Mandalorian armored people show up. And actually, well, one of the other ones is wrestler Sasha Banks, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And the other dude, I have seen him before, and it took me a second to realize it, but he and someone else that shows up in this episode are from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. who were in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's when because the Imperial Captain, he was also in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is where I remember seeing him, but I feel like I've seen him in some other stuff, but he's kind of had that face that was like, yeah, he looks like he's a villain.
It's that guy. Yeah,
yes.
He's one of those guys. Yeah, I know you're talking about the captain. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch the episode again for the look of the third Mandalorian. I remember, news that Sasha Banks was gonna be on the Mandalorian. So yeah, seeing her face clearly this time. She was under the robe, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that wasn't. Well, you know what? Actually, yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. I guess that was her. Yeah.
Yeah, I think her on the docks.
Yeah. Because I thought that was somebody else for a second, but I was like, well, wait, no, that's her. But then they shows up later. So I was thinking that was two different characters, and apparently it was not.
The reason why I look closely at that face is because if you recall, you haven't watched the new add-on episodes of the Clone Wars, have you?
No, I haven't seen season 7 yet, no. And I know Bo-Katan shows up there, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, and it's a minor spoiler, but there are Mandalorians that show up that are robed like that, like hidden in sight.
Gotcha.
In public, like
okay.
that. That made me look twice. But we are burying the lead in a sense because we definitely knew that Bo-Katan was going to be appearing because it was no secret. It was just a matter of when. But as I said earlier, it was no less thrilling to see it happen, to see her take her helmet off and to see the look be so accurate because obviously it's the same, as you said, it's the same voice character. It's the voice actor. It's the same voice actor. They set up her hair to look just like it did. I know that some people online were like, she should be like 60 something years old. She should be significantly older. But as we know, some characters age differently than others. Some races and species age differently than others in the Star Wars universe. So it's hard to quibble with that.
Right.
But what Bo-Katan tells, before I get to that part, Bo-Katan enlists Mando in efforts to hijack Imperial weapons. And there's lots of things revealed here, including that Bo-Katan is looking for one Moff Gideon, and we know why. If you know what Moff Gideon was wielding at the end of season 1.
Yep. Moff Gideon shows up briefly, for in a hollow vid, talking to the Imperial captain that we were talking about, but but there'll be more on that when we get to that point. But the big thing we come to find out,
we're still burying the lead,
right? Yeah. So they're on this mission, and the man. Well, first of all, the one thing we forgot to mention that in the first meeting of the Mandalorian and Bo-Katan, when she takes off his helmet, so we come to find out that because he was a foundling and he was raised, we found out that he was raised by this sect who, were worshiping the old ways of Mandalorians. And if you've seen Clone Wars, you've seen, some of that kind of play out also, because there are some Mandalorians who believe that the old ways should still be intact and that kind of. Now, there was also no mention of Death Watch, which Bo-Katan was also a part of for a moment, but the Mandalorian probably wouldn't know that because apparently he would, if he had known who this character was and the history, then you know, he would have kind of known some things. That's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter.
Maybe she goes. Well, I mean, they don't say Death Watch, but they say Child of the Watch.
Right.
So, in a sense, they are mentioning it. So, what I would say is,
I guess that's true.
It's probably likely that, his status as a foundling probably puts him younger than she is. So,
right.
Or maybe even a lot younger than she is.
Well, that's definitely true. Yeah.
So, there's a good chance that she may have broken away from Death Watch long before he became a foundling. So,
well, no, that's sort of it, because I mean, even in like the I want to say
persona non grata, that's why he doesn't recognize her.
Right, like even before, like she, when you first meet her in Clone Wars, she's a part of Death Watch, but then that ends up changing because of what happened, and we see, and I don't know what happens in season 7 yet, but regardless, I think even by the time season 7 happens, I think she was no longer with Death Watch anyway. And after, spoiler alert, her sister died. Which, by the way, if you don't know who Bo-Katan is, she is the sister of Satine Kryze, who was the ruler of Mandalore, I forget, because Mandalore is not necessarily a race, but
with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes, that was a thought. I still ship him and actually, no, I would. That's a whole other thing we don't need to worry about. I kind of still ship him and Ventress, but them two were all right. But he and Satine were a thing, and sadly didn't end up being a thing that much longer after Clone Wars. A certain part of which, actually, now that I think about it, in my Clone Wars rewatch, I am just at, and I kind of hate that part. So that's why it's been taking me so long to kind of get through it. because I know what's going to happen. It's like, God damn it, I hate it. I hate this.
Part of me wants to go back because, in anticipation of the next episode of The Mandalorian, makes me want to go back and watch those episodes of the Clone Wars now where Bo-Katan is prominent, and obviously when Satine is still here, still around.
Yeah, but anyway, back to the Mandalorian. So they meet, and because of he was brought up a certain way, he's like, "Hey, you took off your helmet, and what the hell's going on?" and blah blah. So, things like, and that's when we find out that he's a child of the Watch, and again, he's a part of the sect that we talked about previously. So of course he wasn't really down with these folks, and he left after retrieving Baby Yoda. But they come back into play again a couple minutes later with dealing with another group of Quarians related to the first ones.
He gets saved twice by them.
Exactly. So, and then this kind of sets off them going on the mission to get these weapons that Agent 70 was talking about. So they go on this mission, which kind of goes off without a hitch, but not without the Empire trying to do its best, including one pretty stupid but funny scene where it's like the dude is like, "Hey, we got him trapped in this control area," and the Imperial captain's like, "Where?" And in the thing, and then they get something happens to them. Which, again, if you haven't watched it, I'm sorry for the spoilers, but it's still worth watching.
We warned you.
Yeah, we did warn you. But you should definitely watch this episode because it's pretty good. And then to not further the lead that we've been bearing for so long, after the mission is over with, or near the tail end of the mission, and they get the ship. The Mandalorian was like, "Hey, you was going to give me some information." So Bo-Katan was like, "All right, go to this planet, go find this person who you all know well, and we don't get to see a picture of or anything, but go there, find one Ahsoka Tano, and tell her Bo-Katan sent you, and she can hook you up by finding these Jedi." So we got Ahsoka Tano by name at the end of this episode, and we're more than likely going to get the live action version of Ahsoka Tano next episode, possibly. Yeah. We don't know. They could do some okey doke.
Yeah, and if not next episode, sometime soon. So it's going to be glorious. It's pretty cool. Like I definitely yelled with some happy joy when I heard that little drop.
Absolutely. And we know, I believe, we know Ahsoka's going to be played by Rosario Dawson, as opposed to Ashley Eckstein. But so
you can't always get what you want. So,
yeah.
All right.
That being the case, yeah, it was a pretty good episode of The Mandalorian this week. No surprise. But yeah, now we can get back to the news. Speaking of Star Wars, actually, we're still on that kick.
Right.
Whoop.
The holiday special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is you.
Star Wars Holiday Special confirms Rise of Skywalker theory about Finn. And I'm just going to caveat here on the editorialize and say I doubt that very seriously. But, so the Star Wars Lego Holiday Special is out on Disney Plus right now. You can go watch it. I will go ahead and say that right now. I haven't seen it yet. I am slightly threatening to watch the original Holiday Special before I watch this, but that would be my masochism at play. I don't know. Apparently, no one needs to go through that. But Life Day was a couple of days ago, as of like 2 days ago, as of the time of this recording, and which normally Life Day is pretty much like Christmas, but I don't know. I don't know why was that the case, but I guess that was the other reason why the special came out a couple of days ago was because 40 some odd years ago, that same day, on the same date, was the original holiday special. So that is the other reason why it came out a couple of days ago, as opposed to like around Christmas proper. Anyway, so yeah, the Lego Star Wars Holiday Christmas Special is on Disney Plus right now. Takes place post Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, as this thing says, and sees Rey attempting to harness Finn's Force abilities. So I guess that is confirmed that Finn is Force sensitive. For one thing, but it all doesn't go as well, and to plan, no spoilers here. So Rey has to undergo some convention lessons. Like we kind of already got some of the final points. She pretty much takes a cross timeline trip into the past of Star Wars and meets up with a bunch of people. So, oh yeah, so that was apparently the supposedly the big secret that Finn was supposedly telling Rey in Rise of the Skywalker, which still sounds stupid. I mean, if it would have been just as silly if it was pretty much trying to tell her he loved her, because there really is no basis for that relationship to even be like that. But then again, Star Wars has had more sillier things that have happened. But according to this article, that's what they're saying, that might have been the big secret, which again, some of us pretty much knew already from freaking Force Awakens that he was Force sensitive. They just never really said it. I'm putting that out there right now. Or I've been putting that out for any time we've talked about this. So that's not a big, that's kind of a big duh to some folks. But regardless, so according to this article, that's what the things he's been trying to say to her, which also, again, still sounds stupid. Like, why would you have to be like in a hushed tones, like, Rey, I'm force sensitive. Like, okay, you could just say that. Like, that doesn't make any sense for them to even go that route. Anyway, regardless, check out the Lego Holiday Star Wars Special if you so inclined to do so. I hear it's pretty cool, or I hear it's all right. That's it. Period. Next up.
All right, those looking to watch a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving can do so for free this year, courtesy of Apple TV. Apple TV Plus,
I know, right?
Apple TV Plus will allow non-subscribers, how kind of them, to stream the classic Thanksgiving special between November 25th through November 27th. It's already on Apple TV Plus right now for subscribers, and it's going to be made free to stream for non-subscribers again from November 25th through November 27th. Do you want me to take the next one too?
Yes. Oh, well, I will say real quick. Well, I guess it'll sort of go play off. But so Apple TV Plus is on the Apple TV app, and you can find that everywhere. There is a recently new app on the PS4, PS5 for Apple Plus, for Apple TV Plus. So if you did not know that, you can go to that. But then again, if you have a PS4, PS5, you know this because they put it on your stupid dashboard and you can't take it off. Stupid Sony. Anyway, go ahead.
Peanut Specials, a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, the aforementioned a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, and a Charlie Brown Christmas, which left their longtime home at ABC for Apple, will return to traditional television for some special airings this holiday season. In addition to streaming on their new home Apple TV Plus, a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and a Charlie Brown Christmas will air ad-free on PBS and PBS Kids on Sunday, November 22nd and Sunday, December 13th, respectively, at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 6:30 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a weird change, but then again, we're living in weird times. Huh?
No, I was like, the article says local time. I'm like, no, it's Eastern Time.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, that was actually weird. I didn't even notice that. But yeah, so it's going to be ad free, like you probably said, and yeah, PBS. So no longer on ABC, no longer on broadcast TV, but it is on a station that pretty much everybody can get to if you know your PBS stations. You know, in the myriad bunches of cable stations that more than likely you have. I'm pretty sure it's probably down there between 11 and 15 or something. I don't really know. I don't know your cable people like that. But yeah, so I guess, and so now I saw one article saying that this had something to do with that fan petition. I very much doubt that.
Listen, if it had anything to do with it, that's welcome.
I mean, true, if it did, but also I hate that would lead credence to those stupid petitions working. Now, granted, this was a less stupid petition than some of those other ones that happened. But at the same time, like, okay, if that was the case, and this article doesn't necessarily say that, which is good, but I have seen another one that has said that case, whether it's true or not, I guess, I don't know. So yeah, guess what? You can watch Charlie Brown Christmas and Hot Thanksgiving specials somewhere for free, which more likely you either already have them or you probably found other means to do so. Quite likely. But yeah, also, if you've read and I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but GameSpot also had a similar article where I pretty much got this from that links to that Deadline article that we just mentioned that says it's going to be on ABC, but we have not seen any mention of that. So if that GameSpot article is the only article you've seen, that might possibly be an error. In fact, more than likely, it's probably an error. Anyway, next up, Doctor Who Season 13 begins filming, reduces episode counts, as the BBC confirms. So the 13th Doctor, companions, and crew are back on the Doctor Who set already, filming the series' highly anticipated Season 13. So the 13th Doctor in Season 13. That's lucky, right? Right. Doctor Who officially began filming on November 2nd, as confirmed by the BBC in a recent press release and seen on the clapboard and the set photo below. Or if you're watching the video that you're watching right now, boom, there it is. So yeah, the Doctor Who production crew also shared a message related to the upcoming season's overall length being shorter than prior seasons. Quote unquote, with safety protocols in place, the Doctor Who team is now filming under the strict industry and UK government guidelines to ensure the safety of all cast and crew. With the added time and protocols required, the team will be completing a total of 8 episodes rather than the usual 11, as reported by the BBC. So yeah, there you go. Next.
Alrighty, next up, Wonder Girl TV series starring Latina hero in the works at CW. Yara Flor is the new Wonder Woman of DC's upcoming Future State publishing line. The CW is working on a Wonder Girl TV series that will explore the back origin story of Yara Flor, the new Wonder Woman of DC's upcoming Future State publishing line. Notably, this will be the first Latina superhero in a DC TV series. As reported by Deadline, the series is being written by Daylin Rodriguez, herself the daughter of Cuban immigrants and co-executive producer of Queen of the South and Night Shift. Rodriguez is executive producing alongside, who else? Longtime DC CW producer Greg Berlanti, under Berlanti Productions, the writer behind all those DC CW shows you know. Blah, blah, blah. Yara Flor, created by Future State Wonder Woman writer artist Joelle Jones, is a Latina dreamer and daughter of an Amazonian warrior and a Brazilian river god. Okay. And if that sounds like a recipe for a superhero, that's because it most definitely is. Okay. And she discovers that she's Wonder Girl. I'm like, okay. I'm like, Wonder Girl is Donna Troy. Oh, no.
Stop it. Well, no.
She's Wonder Woman, dang it.
Well, Donna Troy hadn't been Wonder Girl in quite some time now, but
I was gonna say she's still Wonder Girl in the Titans show. That's the thing. So that's why I kind of find it funny that they just don't call her Wonder Woman if she's Wonder Woman in the Future State series. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I guess I understand. You know, they change it a little bit because they want to stress that she is young.
Right, they're probably taking a younger version, a younger take. But then we have not even met this character properly yet, so this is all running kind of fast. You know, I'm not saying I'm not here for it, but I'm like,
my point being, yeah, because they obviously don't want confusion with Wonder Woman, even though she's technically the Wonder Woman in the Future State.
Right.
That's why they're calling her Wonder Girl on the TV show.
Right. So yeah, it is what it is. But will be more news about that a little later, actually. Or something else along that lines. Black Lightning Season 4 promotes Chantel Tui's Grace Choi to series regular. Thank you. I had to. So yeah, Black Lightning is upgrading Chantel Tui's to season regular for season 4. One of the season DC TV shows to get a huge new status quo. Last season was Jefferson Pierce secret-centric series that had previously been set outside of the main Arrowverse, which is now in the Arrowverse and whatever stupid name they call it now, which we won't be saying. It's going to be the Arrowverse forever, damn it. So yeah, with Crisis of Infinite Earth, y'all already know. So all that got kind of put together, and yeah. So now this character who is the love interest of one of Black Lightning's daughters, in the series, which I need to catch up on. Now that I think about Anissa, thank you. Who's Thunder, huh?
Best salt and pepper. Roddykat doing his best salt and pepper impression.
Nice. The funny part about that still, because that's actually the songs have actually been coming up related on the thing that I've been playing, but that's a whole nother sad story.
That's funny.
But yes, so Anissa Pierce, aka Thunder, is a love interest, and that's been a whole great thing. So yeah, congrats to her. Next up, though.
Next up, the TV spinoff from Matt Reeves' upcoming DC movie, The Batman, was first announced in July, with Boardwalk Empire creator Terrence Winter set to be showrunner and main writer. However, it's now been reported that Winter has quit the show. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Winter has left the HBO Max series because his vision for the drama did not match what Reeves and other producers had in mind. The site states that producers are now looking for a replacement showrunner. The series will focus on the corrupt police department in Gotham City. Okay.
Wah, which we kind of already had in Gotham, but I guess, yeah, sure. And I think this is also going to be like a Batman Year One-ish thing tying into the Batman movie, from what they've said in the past, I guess. Anyway, speaking of the Batman Soul of the Dragon exclusive official movie trailer. Have you seen this?
I have. It's entertaining.
Yeah, it's kind of. At first, it was like, but I'm like, all right, I'm sure. So, but anyway, there is a debut trailer for Batman: Soul of the Dragon, which is the next DC animated movie from Warner Brothers. It's going to be released by Warner Home Entertainment on digital starting January 12th, 2021. On the places you'd find. And January 26th. Oh wait, actually, excuse me. The it's gonna be released on 4K. In 4K on the 12th and Blu-ray on the 26th, which that's kind of weird. Regardless, it is an R-rated for some violence and is an Elseworlds adventure set in the 1970s and features a funky score appropriate for the area. Also features Richard Dragon, played by one Mark Dacascos, Manny, and also on
Nice is off the top of the bat, right off the top.
Yeah, also Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And also one Michael J. White, who you might as well say he's reprising his roles as Black Dynamite, but he's playing Bronze Tiger, which I believe he has played before. I think. Now that I'm thinking about it. Wait, I should look that up. But regardless, and also Lady Shiva, who I'm not sure who's playing her. But basically, this is Batman and those three characters teaming up. For us. Let me see. Actually, it does say oh, Kelly Hu. Okay, from Young Justice and the X-Men and Arrow. You know her. So yeah, that makes sense because I believe she has also played that role. Yeah. So it says here, Bronze Tiger. Michael J. White also played Bronze Tiger on Arrow. So yeah, I knew I was right about that part. And also, iconic character actor James Hong, Big Trouble in Little China Blade Runner, voices their mentor, O Sensei. Is that really his name? O Sensei?
What are you going to do?
Yeah, okay. So anyway, so there's a few more notable voice actors in this. But yeah, you should check out the trailer if you're interested. It seems like it might be something. Seems like it might be kind of neat. That being said, next up.
All right, next up. Remember, Wonder Woman 1984 was supposed to be released in June. A pandemic hit though, so it was rescheduled to August, then again to October, and once more to December. However, with COVID-19 cases surging across the U.S. and Europe. Theaters are closed in Europe again. Now Wonder Woman 1984 is set to be released on Christmas in theaters and on HBO Max. Warner Brothers and HBO Max put a new trailer for Wonder Woman 1984 on YouTube. The trailer ends by revealing that the movie will be available for no additional charge to HBO Max subscribers on December 25th, 2020. It keeps its theatrical launch for that date, giving fans to see it on the big screen if they want to. It is also going to be available in Europe before, I think 2 weeks before, in theaters, but HBO Max is not available in Europe. It's important to note, however, that Wonder Woman 1984 will only be available on HBO Max for the first month of the movie's release. So get it while the getting's good if you got HBO Max, which did finally get to Amazon Fire TV devices earlier this week, thanks to TimDog98 for the news on that, because that told me I needed to install HBO Max.
Yeah, sure. Or I don't know, get a PlayStation, or an Xbox. But I know you don't want to do that just yet. But yeah, so the one part of that whole thing was
like the majority of streaming devices are Amazon devices, right? Like it's the vast majority.
I know they got a lot of devices out there. Yes,
vast majority. So it was like a huge thing. It was a huge subscriber base.
But also, just as much got at this point, just as many people got consoles with those apps on it also. But yeah, I do also recognize that yes, Amazon has a huge base for those things. So, but notably, this article mentions about no extra charge, which might sound like why would there be an extra charge when you're already paying for a service? This might possibly, I don't know if that was the article writer saying that, or some press release might have said that, but that I wonder if that's kind of a dig at the fact that Mulan was put under a paywall, even under Disney Plus.
Absolutely. I absolutely saw it as a shot at Disney Plus for doing that, because and I would note that unfortunately Mulan had to be the guinea pig
Yeah.
for the for that essentially proving to not be that successful in terms of recouping some of the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, and it's worth noting this article says something that Agent 70. Well, actually, I don't think it does say something like that, but Agent 70 mentioned something prior to the show about them wanting to move Wonder Woman 84 out of the way for Soul, which is releasing on Disney Plus Christmas Day, because it was definitely Wonder Woman was supposed to come out Wednesday, which I thought which is still kind of a crazy thing. That was like, yeah, a movie of that caliber, moving out of the way of another thing on another streaming service platform, and like these are the times we're living in. That's kind of a thing which would normally happen. Like video games do that kind of all the time to kind of move out of the way of each other. Or movies or comic books does that also in certain cases. So it's kind of weird that it happens for streaming services now. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's two big releases on Christmas Day: Wonder Woman and Soul.
Right, and I believe Tenet is supposed to be coming out at some point soon.
Streaming service.
Onto a streaming service, I believe so. I'm not sure. I thought I saw an article on that. I may be slightly mistaken. I mean, we knew it's been out for long enough to where at some point it's going to come there eventually, or to a streaming service eventually. But I thought I saw something that said it might be by the end of this year, but I'm not entirely sure. Regardless, let's move on. Is this you or me?
No, this is you.
Okay, Sylvester Stallone joins the Suicide Squad. Which would be some surprising words to say if it wasn't for the fact that James Gunn has already worked with Stallone on Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But anyway, so yeah, both Sylvester Stallone and director James Gunn revealed on social media that Stallone would be joining the Suicide Squad. And as I just mentioned, they worked together on Guardians of the Galaxy 2, playing a Ravager. Playing basically Starguard. Wait, what was this? What the freak was his name? Well, his actual name is Starguard Orgood, but we know him under another name in the comics. And that name that I'm Starhawk. Thank you. It was, if it wasn't for the fact that the thing said it, then I would have totally forgot. Starhawk. From the OG Guardians. Gunn wrote on Twitter, always love working with my friend Sylvester Stallone, and our work today on Suicide Squad was no exception. Despite Sly being an iconic movie star, most people still don't have any idea what an amazing actor this guy is. I feel like that's slightly hyperbolic, but you know what? Stallone, is good for the things he's been good at. Boxing movies and shooting. Let me stop. He's actually had some good turns in some other movies. I'm not going to short shrift that man like that. So yeah,
I was about to say over the top. Anyway, throw in.
Oh God.
Anyway, next up, as we know, recently a few days worth of additional photography on Zack Snyder's 4-hour Justice League took place recently in order to flesh out some moments, add a few shots, and even deliver some brand new scenes. Much of the cast returned for these sequences. The catch for Ezra Miller, though, was that he wasn't stateside when these shots took place, as he is in England filming the third Fantastic Beasts movie. In a new interview, Zack Snyder revealed that this wasn't a problem because he was able to direct Ezra Miller from a Zoom meeting on the Fantastic Beasts set. Interesting.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's sure. I'm just, hey, Zoom, Skype is the way a lot of things are getting done these days. Well, unless you're looking at like Snapchat or Instagram or something where there are still crazy people around. But regardless, yeah, that's the thing. Sure. Speaking of said Snyder cuts, there's a new Justice League Snyder Cut trailer released in color, I guess. Sure. The new trailer has been revealed earlier in black and white, which I think we did probably mention, and has been reposted in full color. The trailer includes a few previously unseen shots, including new glimpses of villain Darkseid. Fans have been asking for a release of Snyder Cut. We already did that whole Snyder Cut business in the first place. And apparently there's another article, which I did not put in the thing because who cares, that Snyder wanted to release what is now to be a 4 1-hour shows into 2 movies, which I feel like it's probably something that's probably been said before anyway, or somewhere, I don't know. But regardless, I know that's what he wanted to release it for, and somebody told him probably no, and releasing it the way they're releasing it. So I guess it's not the Snyder Cut after all. It's somebody else is cutting them stop. Regardless, yeah. So this is still a thing, folks. I don't know. Sure. Next up.
All right, next up, Creed 2 director Stephen Caple Jr. is going to helm a new Transformers feature film for Paramount Pictures and Hasbro Studio. According to Deadline, Caple Jr. met with Paramount Motion Picture President Emma Watts and is at the top of the list for studio executives and producers to direct one of the new Transformers movies currently in development. That's interesting news. I wasn't that big a fan of Creed 2, but shout out to our man at TimDog98 for posting this article for putting this article together on CBR.
I have not seen either of the Creeds, so I don't, I have no recall, and I dare say, I guess whoever this person is can't do worse than those other Transformers movies, of which I haven't seen all of.
Yeah, I jumped off after the second one.
Yeah, that sounds like a logical place to do that.
Once I saw the second one, I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, and I think
Mark Wahlberg was in it. I was like, I'm really out. I'm out.
Yeah, that is fair. That
you
is
know
totally
how out I was. That's how out I was.
I was wondering how you were going to incorporate that, but you know what? There we go. That was natural. I appreciate it. But yeah, there's part of me that still actually want to go through those stupid movies for some sick reason. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but yeah, I will definitely let folks know. Also, I need these articles. I know it's a slow / whatever news cycle or whatever the hell's going on that got y'all churning out all kind of articles, but I need y'all to start with these stupid theories about stuff that
and it's holidays, things are slowing down a little bit. So
no, it's not even just it's just in pandemic in general has been like you've seen like, well, obviously this stuff slowed down for those reasons anyway, but some of these articles have been coming out on stuff that has nothing to do with nothing. Although some of them are entertaining, and I'm like, all right, cool. But I'm like, what does that have to do with anything going on? But at the same time, hell, we've revisited stuff that has nothing to do with. Well, actually, that's not true either, because most of the stuff we've revisited has currently come back into play in comics. But hey, so take that anyway. First Tom and Jerry movie trailer brings back the age of mindless cartoon violence. Yes, folks, there's a new Tom and Jerry movie, and that will debut in 2021. This says here big screen debut, but I feel like there was another Tom and Jerry movie at some point in the 90s or something, maybe. And yes, I think this is going to be one of those hey there cartoons of playing with live action, a la Space Jam and those other movies. Type situation, and this article gives a rundown of what the trailer has in it. But you know what? You can read that and watch that for yourself. We do find out that apparently Michael Pena from Ant-Man is going to be here in the movie, rather, and Chloe Grace Moretz, who wasn't that Hit Girl?
It was Hit Girl.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And the movie is going to be set to premiere in theaters on March 5th, 2021. So there you go. Next.
Right. I was about to say, This is my response to Roddykat about me not being able to fit in the sound effect for Jazz getting chucked out of the Banks mansion.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
That's my response to that. The
All
last
right.
story.
Well played. Well played.
The last story we have is actually a piece over at Screen Rant that is a complete explanation of the Star Trek timeline. So I'm not going to go through all of it because it's definitely something you have to digest on your own and go through and see the various places where these movies fit in, including the Kelvin timeline.
Right. And, being, the Star Trek Discovery being a current thing, which I still need to watch or finish watching. This is kind of breaks it down, all that kind of stuff, starting from Enterprise on up. So go check that out if you're so interested. And now we move over into the comic book news.
We're going to transition.
I would love for us to actually have a transition, like a visual transition, but I'm not entirely sure how to do it. Well, I know how to do it, but I'm just too lazy to actually learn how to properly do it. Anyway, that
was supposed to get done during pandemic, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were talking about that was the thing we were talking about before the show. Yeah, the projects to be done.
We all have, I was counseling Roddykat earlier about just trying to get some little things done. But I also have to say, and in addition to that, sometimes you have bursts of productivity and creativity. So I can tell you that I cut a bunch of sound drops over the last couple of weeks just because I felt I had this feeling of, that our sound effects had gotten a little stale. Obviously, we're kind of going back to some of them over and over again, so I needed to get some more into the rotation. So we've already debuted quite a few new sound drops in tonight's episode.
Yeah, I mean, and Roddykat, there wasn't necessarily struggling on how to do projects, but it was just we were just talking about a conversation that I was talking about a couple of days ago when I was streaming elsewhere. About that kind of stuff, and people trying to do things while current at this point, as opposed to earlier during COVID, where time was less abstract, was more of an abstract concept. Right. At the beginning of that's when people were trying to figure out what in the world to do when they could have been doing stuff. But we realized that's neither here nor there. Here we are with the news, and I will go ahead and reiterate again, like I said earlier, that solicitations for February 2021, and you can see those in the show notes, or at least a couple of them from the big two and someplace else, are in the show notes. You can check that out. But we start off with SpaceX astronauts brought Baby Yoda to the International Space Station, apparently. So let's see, SpaceX's Crew 1, an international crew of NASA astronauts en route to the International Space Station, have revealed that the child, aka Baby Yoda, is a stowaway. The footage was captured by The Verge's science writer Lauren Gresh, and there's some video to the tweet, or there's a tweet that goes along with this, and you can check out. But basically, Baby Yoda was used as a zero G indicator. Because once they got to zero G gravity, you can just like they need to, I guess, I don't know if they necessarily needed it, but hey, you can see in that video that it's just kind of floating there. It was cute. It was like, all right. Sometimes I like to see some of that stuff from NASA footage. I think they also, we may not have talked about this, but they did this also with a stuffed dinosaur like a while back. So
right. And what's funny? With regards to the SpaceX launch, it being the first privatized, private vehicle, launch vehicle into taking NASA astronauts into space to the space station. It's funny that I saw a tweet from Walt Simonson saying that he and Louise Simonson, his wife, had done a treatment on a Fantastic Four movie that hewed pretty closely to the original Fantastic Four origin, and it was turned down because it was deemed unlikely that there would be a private a rocket launch into space. Obviously, this is some time ago, well before SpaceX. So imagine if they incorporated SpaceX into an updated origin for the Fantastic Four now.
Oh, I feel like that's probably something that would absolutely happen, given some of the things that they've already put into the Fantastic Four and other Marvel stuff.
Absolutely. I think so. I
That
think
they've
so.
kinda-
We're writing this movie for you.
Pretty much.
So-
And yes, the Simonsons being prescient. Who So shout out.
Shout out to them. All right, next up.
Next up.
Hot Toys' premium Miles Morales figure includes the winter costume and Spider-Cat. This is specifically referring to the PS5 video game.
Yes. Because in the video game, we've talked about this and we've seen that there's a Spider-Cat, and there's I think, which is a part of a suit that Miles ends up getting in the thing. I still haven't played it. I do have the game. Still haven't played it yet. But now we get a figure from that universe. And it looks pretty good. If you're watching the video, you can see the pictures of it. You see, Miles in his Spidey suit, and you got Spider-Cat in his back. I dare say it again, he's packing a cat in the back of the backpack. Packing a cat in the back of the pack. If you know that reference from Big Pun, then you're all right with me.
It is also Hot Toys, so you know this is not a cheap action figure.
Exactly, and highly detailed, as you can see in these pictures. So yeah, and you can see he's got his little scarf and a winter hat in one picture, and then he's got his what I'm assuming his Venom Blast waves, and this next one that I guess will probably be accoutrement that'll go along with him.
This won't be out until 2022 though, so there's some time.
Yep.
Save up money for this.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a price for it right now because obviously this is just the first look shots.
Yep.
30 points of articulation, folks. This will not come cheap. It says 10 pairs of interchangeable hands, including pairs with web-slinging motions and fists.
All you have to know is that it's Hot Toys.
Yep, pretty much. It also features 4 pairs of interchangeable lenses. So, yeah.
Yep.
Details. Next up. Also in Miles figure news, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse gets the Marvel Legends figure treatment, excuse me. So, in spring 2021, Miles, Spider-Gwen, and Peter B. Parker are all going to get, and Spider-Ham, I guess, by proxy, are going to be in the next wave of Marvel Legends figures.
And the Prowler as well.
And the Prowler. Yeah, I didn't see the rest of it. I didn't look to see what's in the list. And apparently the Build-A-Figure is
Stiltman. I saw this wave. I can talk a little bit more about this as well if there's anything else you have to add.
Well, I was just going to say that unless maybe, because I didn't see, let's see, Prowler, Speeder B. Why is there no Liv Octavius? Why? Or why was that not the Build-A-Figure?
I'm not sure, to be honest. And you know who the other figures in this wave are?
Who?
There's an army builder. It's not technically an army builder because they didn't charge you less for it, but the hand ninja, which I ordered a bunch of. Because we all need hand ninjas, man.
That's a sentence you never thought you'd hear, but sure, yes.
You know? And the other character, because we did mention the Prowler as well as the Build-A-Figure being Stiltman. The other figure is, believe it or not, Frogman. Eugene something or other.
Really?
Yes. It's actually a pretty cool looking figure, but I can't believe they did a Frogman. So.
Oh, gosh.
You know, talk about digging into the depths of the character roster.
Wait, refresh my memory. There's a Puma figure, right?
There is. It's been around for a while. It was in the Kingpin Build-A-Wave figure.
That was one of the names I was trying to remember when I talk about that Marvel Voices. There's not an article. I mean, there's not. He didn't have a thing, but he was mentioned. But
Right.
I
I
was
saw him. I saw him in that Watcher image. I
right,
saw a picture of the Puma, Thomas Fireheart. Yeah.
right. But yeah, so this you know what? I'm probably going to get at the very least a couple of these figures.
Yeah. I pre-ordered the Peter B. I pre-ordered the Miles and the Gwen, and I got a bunch of the hand ninjas. I'm not keen on what they did with the movie Prowler.
Yeah.
Like the gauntlets, I don't like the figure,
Hmm.
and I don't really care to build a Stiltman, even though it would be kind of interesting. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of the leg extensions because of extra hand ninjas. So, anyway, any more on this?
No, that's pretty
Yeah,
much it. I mean, you see the Peter B's got a soda with him and not the slice of pizza that he lost on his way to the Spider-Verse and all that kind of stuff. But
Matching shoes.
yeah. Oh wait, I didn't see that. Hold
Yeah, he's got mismatching shoes.
on. Nice. Yep.
Wet pants. Yeah, the whole kit. It's actually, listen, for anyone here who is interested in doing whatchamacallit, action figure comic book art, which is like photographs of action figures in like action poses, and people post them up, and people really do a lot of cool work with that. More often than not, if you want the best, most accurate looking figure, you're going to be spending some dough on it, especially if it's like Hot Toys. But if what you want is like a decent amount of accuracy and a reasonable price, you can't go wrong with a well done Marvel Legends figure, and that's generally what a lot of people use.
True.
So, and I'm just a collector. I'm not an ACBA guy, so I'm just a collector. I like having figures to kind of reenact cool things on a shelf. So
Yeah, and I'm not even that. I just like, hey, these are figures I like for characters I like. So here you go.
yeah, I'm in between the hardcore, gotta have everything, and cherry picking the ones that I want. I'm like right in between them. So.
Right. And of course, you got Miles in his jacket, and that whole get up from the end of Spider-Verse when he kind of comes into it.
That Gwen is mostly the same figure, but the head sculpt is different. That's the key.
Right. I was going to mention that, and the fact that Spider-Gwen comes with a Spider-Ham figure.
Right. Right. Which, believe it or not, is the second Spider-Ham Marvel Legends figure.
That is weird.
The first one was based off the comic version. So.
Of course. So there you go. So check that out, Angelisi. We know. I got a feeling if this is like some of those other ones, it's probably going to go. Some of those figures are going to go relatively fast. Probably all of them, but we can safely say that at least those three are probably going to go fairly fast. Whenever that comes. Actually, wait. Does it say when it comes out?
Soon.
It says 2021. I know, but
it's like early 2021.
Yeah, spring 2021. Okay, so no exact date, but I'm pre-orders are probably going to be sometime soon. So
I was about to say mine already. So
okay.
They're available on Amazon, and they're available on Hasbro Pulse and Entertainment Earth, and
I guess I know what I'll be doing after the show. Next up though.
Next up, Star Wars Squadrons, the hit game from Electronic Arts Motive Studio, is keeping its promise to the fans. On Wednesday, the developer announced a pair of major new updates for the VR-compatible spaceflight simulation, and they're going to be absolutely free. Better still, upgrades include the fan-favorite B-Wing Starfighter.
Which is kind of funny because we just talked about this like a week or two ago about the Star Wars 9. It's been used, and I think I did say even then I thought it was in this game already, but apparently it was not. But we also said that the games have used the B-Wings more than the shows and movies. So there you go.
Right. Titled Update 3.0, the new content arrives on November 25th. It's only a few days from now. It will include Fostar Haven, based on the very first location visited in the single-player campaign. Developers say that it has been updated since the game is launched and offers cramped combat inside its distinctive dockyards and plenty of action in open space. Okay, congratulations for all of you folks playing Star Wars Squadrons.
We'll get you there soon, sir. Well, probably not. But yeah, also I think you said that it also comes with a TIE Defender I mean, Atari Defender is
Oh,
also coming in.
not, that's cool.
Yeah. So cool. Next up, though, Old Man Avengers Assemble for Marvel Wastelanders audio series. Marvel Comics has announced several audio series that will premiere as a part of the publisher's partnership with audio streaming service Sirius XM to create original podcasts and audio dramas based on characters and concepts. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this previously. Alongside nonfiction podcasts, Marvel and Sirius will launch Wastelanders, which kind of sounds like the EastEnders, weirdly enough. But anyway, a multi-part scripted audio series that explores the desolate alt-future continuity of Old Man Logan, assembling a team of older Avengers to traverse the dystopian world. Though Marvel's announcement doesn't reveal much about the story, it does name Old Man Star-Lord, Grey Widow, Old Man Hawkeye, and Old Man Wolverine as characters appearing in the series. So yeah, that's a thing. And they mentioned Avengers of the Wasteland, which was a fairly recent comic book that I think just ended. I think that had other characters to appear outside of any of these ones mentioned, because none of them showed up. Let's see. It is expected. Oh wait, ahead of Wastelanders, which is expected to premiere in 2021, Marvel will launch a pair of Sirius XM exclusive podcasts. So the first one is Marvel Method, in which rapper and comic fan Method Man interviews celebrity guests about fandom, music, and more, with playing guests including DMC, Killer Mike, Jamila Hill, and others. The first episode of Marvel Method is now available. And then on December 8th, Sirius XM will premiere Marvel's Declassified, in which hosts Lorraine Sink and Evan Narcissus explore the history of Marvel Comics through quote-unquote unique access to writers, artists, editors, and industry insiders who have shaped key storylines and witnessed firsthand the historical shifts within the comic industry. And Marvel's other podcasts will also be available on Sirius XM. Boy, I wish some of those would be available outside, because I would be interested in hearing some of them without having to subscribe to Sirius XM, which I'm never going to do. Anyway.
All right.
There you go. Next
up, earlier this week, Hasbro teased an upcoming collaboration with Marvel Comics that would see the X-Men crossover with the Transformers. On Tuesday, they revealed that crossover: Transformers Generations, Transformers collaborative Marvel Comics X-Men mashup, Ultimate Expanse. It turns the Blackbird jet from X-Men the Animated Series into an X-Men themed Transformer. The set also comes with Wolverine and Sabretooth as they appeared in the show. Announced on the Transformers Facebook page, Hasbro says of the collectible, the Transformers Collaborative presents the next exciting, with the X's capitalized, mashup. The iconic X-Jet from the X-Men animated series is now a Transformers robot called Ultimate Expanse. Unlike the Sentinels, this robot is the ultimate mutant ally. Okay.
So yes, if you're watching the video, you can see the jet, which is Cyclops. Some would say Cyclops blue. And the figures that come along with it, you see it transform as the Blackbird, which is blue in this for some strange reason, and also, transformed, which also looks like Cyclops. And of course, yes, I will probably get the stupid figure and probably deep read whatever crossover this is. This is inevitably going to happen, because there will be an actual animated. There will be a comic book, I believe, that was said. Because it's funny, because when I saw this article, I saw the headline for this. I'm like, now watch there be a figure to go along with the thing. As I've said many times in the past with these Transformers crossovers, and sure enough, I was not wrong. Which again, like, that's been the MO, so that's kind of a thing. So I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, you can get those. That'll be on sale in March of next year. I hate it, but I'm probably gonna get it.
Okay.
Next up, though, Juggernaut finally. Well, we can skip past that one because we already talked about that one. So the whole thing with his new armor and whatnot. So we're gonna move past that one and say that Thor reveals what's really wrong with Mjolnir, which is pretty much spoilers for last week's Thor 9, which Agent 70 kind of talks a little bit about. And yeah, he didn't necessarily go through this part, if I'm not mistaken, but it has something to do with the reason why he's the Don Blake personas come back into play, and some shenanigans that's going on with Asgardian magic.
Right. And it's essentially why Mjolnir is getting harder and harder for him to deal with. So.
Right. So again, if you still want to not be spoiled by that, we won't do that here. But yeah, there you go. I still have yet to read that issue, but sure. Next up, though,
writer Jed MacKay, who we are a fan of,
mm-hmm.
and Carlos Magno will team up in 2021 for Avengers Mech Strike, a new 5-issue limited series in which several Avengers will don powerful suits of battle armor to take on an alien foe. Judging by the cover art for Avengers Mech Strike #1 by Kei Zama, Avengers getting in on the big robot business will include Captain America, Thor, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Hulk, Black Widow, Black Panther, and naturally Iron Man. What do Thor, Captain Marvel, and the Hulk need with big mech suits? Those three specifically. Everyone else, they need them. Those three, they waste to every mech that we've seen, including Voltron.
Whatever, man. So, it's mechs. Come on.
I like mechs. Trust me. I'm the one that loves the mech anime, but, you know, we're talking about Thor, Captain Marvel, and the Hulk. You know, you think Carol needs a mech suit? Hulk? I mean, Bruce Banner, maybe. You know, we saw that with the Hulkbuster. But anyway, a brand new enemy has emerged in the Marvel Universe, and even Earth's mightiest heroes are no match against it, really. Reads Marvel's official description of Avengers Mech Strike. But the Avengers aren't so easily beaten, and when new threats arise, powerful new tools must be brought to bear. Suiting up in high-tech, individualized armor, the Avengers stand ready for one of their greatest battles yet in the extraordinary new comic series, Avengers Mech Strike. It continues, Avengers Mech Strike will kick off a bold new age of action-packed Avengers battles that will send shockwaves throughout the comic book industry and beyond. Is there a Transformers crossover in the works? It won't be the first time.
I mean, I feel like we probably know that's coming, especially since we already know about there's one with the X-Men, so I probably so. But you had me at mech suit. You had me at, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing did a Voltron like transformation. These things at this point. But also, I was going to say originally though that this feels like this is something that probably would have already come out in a Japanese version of the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
If it hasn't already, I don't know. I wouldn't be even surprised if it hasn't. But apparently, this would have mentioned it.
2000s.
Yeah. Wait, 2000?
The early 2000s.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it was a mech style Avengers Assembles title. I have to look that up. Like, I think it was like the Marvel manga stuff.
See, even this article says that if we're really lucky, they'll be combiners. So, see, I don't know who wrote this article, but shout out to you, George Marston, because you're here with me. You are here with me. But yeah, it sounds kind of cheesy, but there's probably going to be a storyline to go along with it, and I may or may not potentially think about getting it. But you know what? Big make action Avengers, sure, why not? I'm as long as I can't say it's going to be a plausible story because already it's kind of out the window. But we'll see. We'll see. Like, yes, I'm kind of in agreement with you. Like, yeah, some of those people don't need mechs, but come on, you cannot just have an Avenger squad who's like, well, I guess you can because they have, but regardless, mech suits, period. That's all I got to say. Mech suits. Moving right along. Whoops. So, in some news that'll probably be of some joy to Agent 70, Marvel event Annihilation to be revisited in February's Guardians of the Galaxy. The modern version of the Guardians of the Galaxy was born out of the 2006-2007 Marvel Comics event Annihilation, of which we have talked about previously a few months ago. Speaking of COVID projects. And in February 2021's Guardians of the Galaxy 11, the Guardians will revisit where it all started in a quest to find out what to do next, which actually makes sense with everything that's been going on in that book lately, and with what we know that's, I guess, coming. But anyway, and I think we might have actually called this one, too, in a kind of a sense, because the next line is, the gods are coming. The Olympian gods are returning to our universe, and they're taking their exile at Peter Quill's hand very personally, reads Marvel's solicitation for this issue. To stop them, the Guardians return to the place the team was born. That's the modern version of the team. But will be facing their past in the Annihilation War. But will facing their past in the Annihilation War help them survive their future? So I believe when we that whole thing went down with Peter's death and the Olympian gods kind of coming back kind of coming back from whatever. Wait, what was it? Was it that Avengers event?
Yeah, No Road Home, I think.
Yeah, No Road Home. That happened then at the end of that, and we found out that they were back, and then they ended up coming back in Guardians. We kind of felt like something was going to be set up with all of that mess, and sure enough, at the very least, some more of that is happening here. If not, was what the setup was, and I believe that No Road Home was an Al Ewing joint, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong about that, but I feel like that probably was. So
But yeah, it's hard to remember.
Yeah. But regardless, yeah. So they're coming back again, and it's leading to this and Annihilation again, which we have talked about a few months ago on this very show. It's going to get picked up back up as a thing. So and it is worth noting that there was a sequel called this is the first time the Marvel has revisited Annihilation. The last time was a sequel called Annihilation Scourge that picked up some of the events of that event, including a bizarre team up of Annihilus and Nova. So yeah, there you go. Next up, Marvel's Voices Legacy #1 cover reveal. So Marvel's Voices started as a much-needed podcast hosted by Angelique Roche, highlighting creators who are traditionally forced to the margin of mainstream comic books. Then in February 2020, it grew into focused comic issues featuring brand new work by those same creators. Today, Sci-Fi Fangirls is thrilled to be able to share the exclusive reveal for Marvel's Voices Legacy #1. The cover is courtesy of Torrin Clark and Jesus Aburtov, and the book itself will feature writers like Ho Che Anderson, Danny Lore, Nendi Okorafor, Tochi Onyebuchi, and Stephanie Williams, and Mohali Machigo, among others. And you can be ready to see, and you can be sure to see art from Sean Hill, Valentine Delandro, Ken Lashley, Chris Allen, and more. Yeah, so good stuff, and congrats to Stephanie Williams on this. Not that Stephanie Williams, but just people on Twitter know who that is. Who's also had a successful start for her living single and Marvel Heroes mashup thing, which looks pretty cool. Amongst other things she's doing. Next up, though, Vixen. Actually, I think also related to her, now that I think about it. Vixen takes center stage in DC's new digital first series, Truth and Justice. This January, the ideas of truth and justice, concepts synonymous with DC's heroes from the golden age of comics to the present day, are the foundations for a new anthology comic book series, Truth and Justice. This series continues in the tradition of popular DC titles such as Adventures of Superman, Sensation Comics, and Legends of the Dark Knight, exploring the length and breadth of DC's rich character history. In addition, the series will serve as a platform for new emerging storytellers to reveal their takes on popular DC characters. Truth and Justice debuts digitally on January 8th, 2021, with the first of 3 99-cent weekly stories, which will be collected as a 40-page print issue available February 16th, 2021. Vixen makes her Truth and Justice entrance with a story by Jeffrey Thorne from a bunch of places, with art by Chris Cross, not the group, and Jordi Tarragona. Excuse me.
Glad to see Chris Cross doing American work. He'd been doing a lot of European work for a long time.
Right. So Vixen is starting off the thing, and it sounds like it's going to go into other characters in that. So cool. Like I said on Twitter, always good to see more Vixen stuff. Next up.
All right, this is mild spoilers for people who don't want to know what is going to happen in DC Future State. This is straight out of DC February 2021 solicitations. This is about what happens to Tim Drake in the Future State event. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Tim's going to be killed by the Magistrate, the merciless law enforcement organization that has taken over Gotham City in the future and banned vigilantism. However, Tim doesn't stay dead for long thanks to the dangerous and supercharged Lazarus resin, the regenerative super drug the Magistrate plots to use to bestow immortality upon its forces. That is now flowing through his veins, but he's got to recover enough of his fragile psyche as a result of this resurrection in order to complete his mission to blow the sky convoy carrying the drug. So obviously, much like the Lazarus pit, the Lazarus resin does not come without paying a high cost.
Yes,
using it doesn't come without a high cost.
Right. Tim Drake, some would say, would have become outlawed.
Oh no.
Yeah. But hey, yeah, there you go. Next up, back to some Wonder Girl news. DC's Brazilian Wonder Girl lands first post-Future State comic series. Yara Flor, the Brazilian Wonder Woman and star of Future State Wonder Woman, will be the first DC hero to get her own post-Future State series titled Wonder Girl. And then it kind of goes back to talking about the series that we talked about earlier. But let's see. We will eventually discover that there are connections to the other tribes of the Amazons that we have established. Superman Group editor Jamie S. Rich said regarding Yara Flor in Future State. Yara does have some connection to the Amazons, and part of what we'll discover in her origin is what activates her position, what makes her Wonder Woman at this time. She's from Brazil, but was an immigrant to America. So yeah, there's that. And of course, it's going to go into how she relates to Diana and other Amazons. This mentions Nubia for some reason, and that thing they're doing. But yeah, so yeah, apparently she's going to get her own post Future State comic series. And it goes back to the Wonder Girl thing. Next up.
All right, so this is spoilers for Batgirl issue number 50 that's out this week, I guess?
Last week, I think. Yeah. Oh,
6 days. I see when this article was posted. Okay. So this is still spoiler territory for people who are still behind on their reading. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Apparently, Batgirl, a.k.a. Oracle, is the perfect person to be a dungeon master because apparently she was playing Dungeons and Dragons with her friends Black Canary, Huntress, Orphan, and Spoiler. And she was the dungeon master in their D&D game held in Batgirl number 50.
Mm-hmm. So now actually makes me want to go back and go.
Actually gonna gonna go back and check that out.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then the rest of the article goes on about how Barbara is perfect for being dungeon manager because of her skill set and everything. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be checking that out. Also a reminder that that's doesn't matter. But that Avengers Marvel snapshot came out this week. I meant to check that out, but I didn't. But I don't know. Those snapshot things are a thing. So, anywho, Batman reveals how Gotham's newest villain earned his name, and that's from this week's Batman 103, of which Agent 7 is kind of already mentioned so a little bit about. I don't know if you mentioned this part though. I don't remember. Basically, it just remembers how Ghostmaker. This article goes into how Ghostmaker got his name.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to spoil everything.
Yeah, I mean, I still won't say it here, but basically, this article kind of goes into how that happens. But let's just say there's some similars to the Bat, according to what it says. Next up, though,
you can meet Kari Andrews as 10-minute teen superhero Erratic, and according to Roddykat, this character looks like Red Locust from Champions.
It does.
What if you be a superhero with superpowers and all, but could only do it for 10 minutes a day? Well, one superhero can, Erratic. Kari Andrews, well known for his vibrant and raw work on Marvel's Iron Fist, has created his own superhero, a 15-year-old hero who can only use his powers for 10 minutes at a time, and must use the other 23 hours and 50 minutes a day to rest up. Okay, so this is already. Oh no, this will be out December 2nd from AWA Studios.
Right.
Okay.
Which again, kind of sounds like looks like Red Locust, but you know. And that Kari Andrews' Iron Fist was actually pretty good. We got pay from that one. He wrote and drew.
It was good stuff. I met him once, and he was very happy to hear that we were enthusiastic about his Iron Fist run.
Nice. Last but not least, come on, thank you. Joe Quesada plays homages Sean Connery's 007 in tribute art. So Joe Quesada, executive vice president and creative director of Marvel Entertainment and creator of Event Comics, posted tribute artwork to the late Sean Connery. The piece was done during a recent Drink and Draw Social Club episode, which Quesada hosts. Drink and Draw is a group of American comic book artists who, as the name suggests, record themselves drinking, drawing, and talking about comic books, art, and movies. And I will say here that a lot of times if you go to a comic book convention, or remember when we used to go to comic book conventions, they would have these drink and draw sessions at some of them. I know I've kind of walked through a couple at Heroes Con, which was kind of cool. Anyway, Tuesday's episode, which actually I did not know they had a podcast and everything, I might have to check this out. But Tuesday's episode was focused on Sean Connery, who just passed at the end of October at the age of 90. And if you are watching the video, which sometimes maybe you should check out the piece because it looks pretty cool. It is him in front of the DB5 and with his gun out and a pair of legs sticking out the passenger's window. You know how Bond rolls, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so check that out right there. And we have come to the end of the news and by proxy this here show. But first, an ad read, please, sir.
Our last ad read of the night is from Amazon. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, etc. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
Boop. And as we head off into the sunset with this here episode of the Comic Book Chronicles, thank you each and every one of you for coming out. We will be back next week as we normally do, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern time on which I forgot to say this earlier now that I think about it. We're on Twitch, twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, and we're also live on YouTube at youtube.com/ClickNation. Or The Click Nation. But, yeah. Wait.
I was about to say, you messing up?
The Click Nation. There we go. I don't know why I've been doing this all the time. It's like, wait, hold on, what's going on? But that being said, I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can also find me on CBCaps on Instagram. If I can get these, trying to figure out what's going on with this show. So there you go. You can see, yeah, got a nice little, yeah. Lower thirds going on. Hey, you can also find Agent 70 on Twitter and Instagram. PC_dirt on Twitter, PopCultureNet on Twitter, PopCultureNetwork.com, and those little brother slides therein. And I guess he's still doing Bite the Vine replacement thing under comic reviews, no vowels. Last but not least, the Osiris that is ish. Tim, DOGG98. You can find him at that on Twitter. You can find him at CBCron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. The Click Nation on Twitter. That's TheKlickNation, all one word. But also theclicknation.com. And of course, that YouTube channel that I've already mentioned. Therein. But you can also find him under at Tim. Well, actually, he goes by his actual name on Comic Book Resources, where he's over there writing his face off. So go get that man some clicks, read the stuff. He's doing some pretty good work over there. You can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Today.
Yes, he said do it today in case you didn't catch that. I'm not sure what's going on with Agent 70's audio right now, but you can also find this here podcast on your podcast producer place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. Yeah, like I said, we're here every Thursday, 9:30 p.m. on the places that we mentioned.
Except for next Thursday.
Except for next Thursday. Thank you very much. Because as we said earlier, next week is Thanksgiving here in the States. And we will, probably not be with family or whatever the case, but we're just going to take the night off one way or the other for the holiday.
I mean, we're probably going to be gathering with the closest family or like anyone else who's like in kind of like a pod. So
yeah, or over Zoom or whatever the case may be, or however that's.
We'll be doing our best to gather with, but still staying safe. So
yeah, or some of us will be staying home and chilling, like something. We don't know who knows, but we will, however. While there will not be an episode that night, there will be an episode that week because we will probably record the following day on Friday. So if you'd like joining us live, you can catch us on Friday night next week as opposed to Thursday night of next week. But we will be putting this out on Twitter, when we go live as we normally do.
Because I'm, as I said earlier, I as well as Roddykat are looking. We're both looking forward to the end of 10 of Swords, and we'll see what happens with that. So
yeah, we don't want to put that off for another week.
Yep.
Amongst other things, but
Exactly.
And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One. Wakanda forever!